that's better than all good.
All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. Show this out, show this out, show this out. All right, welcome everybody. We are live today on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Although Instagram only gives you 1 hour before they kick you off the live. That's just they don't support going live, even though they're owned by Meta, who owns Facebook and created Facebook, and they're the chat for that company. I guess they don't want you going live on there for doing shows like this. So I'll be live on there for at least first hour, and maybe I'll jump back over and go live over there and see. I don't know if the chat comes into here. So I have that window open. Let me get this banner down off of here so you guys can see me here. Where's my banners? And that's my background banner. There we go. Hi, there we are. Welcome. Okay, so let me get back over to the chat so I can see you guys over here. Penny, welcome. Peter, welcome. Cassie, welcome. Denise, welcome, right? If anybody else that I didn't mention is here, it's because you guys didn't say something in the chat, right? And I'll bounce over every now and then to take a look at. In fact, I'm going to go over there right now to Instagram and say something in the chat there and see if it filters in here to StreamYard, because I've never gone live on Instagram yet. So, and I almost removed myself from the show just now. That's crazy, right? Okay. Let me put myself up here in full screen so we don't have to sit there and look at that that solo layout. Right. So let me go over here and say something in the chat for Instagram. No, I see there's a couple people there that joined. So welcome. I see a couple people over there that joined. So I'm going to say hello in the chat here to you guys over there on Instagram. I don't know if that chat will come over into the chat in the StreamYard. So I'll have to jump back and forth and see if you guys actually are over there or not. Right. In fact, the screen over here, I'll have to refresh it and see what happens, because the screen there just acted weird. So I don't know if I'm still live over there or not, because I was live, and then when I said something in the chat, the screen went dark, and now I don't know if I'm still live on Instagram. So if I just dropped on Instagram over there, nope, it still says I'm live right here. So let's see if I can click on that archive. Yes, I am. Now I have to mute my sound over here, and I'm not sure how to do that because, what's this? There we go. So I was able to mute that. So hi, for those of you over there who on Instagram, say something in the chat over there, because when I try to say something, for whatever reason, it did not want to go into the chat to see you guys. I see Peter's over there. Peter joined. Welcome, Peter. So say something in the Instagram chat, Peter, and let's see if it comes into the StreamYard chat, okay? So let me go over here and find out. Yes, it does. No, it does not. I didn't see you over there. So that's weird. No, Steve, welcome. Thank you. Right. Thank you, Steve. Steve said, hi, Leonard. Great show. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we only have an hour on Instagram before they boot us off. So I am live on Facebook and I am live on YouTube. So for those of you who are wherever you are around the world, please share this out to everybody else. I didn't get a chance to share it out because it harkens back to when I was doing live, not using StreamYard, but using different programs to go live. I had to copy the stream key, put it into StreamYard. And then when I went live on StreamYard, I had to go back over to Instagram and go live there. I remember having to do that whenever I was streaming in 3 different places. I used to have windows open, so I had to have monitors up to where I would be able to monitor the chats. And I can't tell if the chat comes in from here because it doesn't look like it did because Peter's talked over there in the chat. And I don't see that, right? So I see Penny's over there too. So yeah, so I'll have to keep an eye on the chat in Instagram, bounce back and forth every now and then because it doesn't filter into the StreamYard chat. So I'll be bouncing back and forth, and it's okay, right? Right. So you're hearing it doubles. You have to mute one of your microphones, Penny, or mute one of the sounds incoming. Russell, welcome, brother, on Instagram. So Penny, if you're on 2 channels, Facebook and Instagram, hit mute on one of the 2, and that way you don't hear it coming in double. Okay. So like I said, share this out, please. Share this out. And well, let's get started. So we're on. I didn't even, I'm probably in the wrong spot here. I didn't have time to get us back to the right place. So I'm in the middle of a question. I don't even know where I'm at. It was insane trying to get the stuff live on Instagram because for whatever reason, StreamYard is not allowing me to approve any of the places that I was already on when they timed out weirdly. So I have to go into each account on Facebook and go in there as the administrator and then re-add StreamYard. That's annoying. And I guess it's just the universe telling me that it's actually time because I have a Rumble account and everybody's telling me I should go live on Rumble. And I've already gone over to Rumble to take a look at going live and then streaming from there to all the platforms I normally do. It looks like I'm going to be doing that because StreamYard's starting to fail me for whatever reason. They're starting to fail me. So I'm going to end up firing them. I just fired Zoom. I'm going to fire StreamYard and probably go to Rumble and start paying their price to be able to go live because Rumble is always a pain. If you go to post a video on Rumble, it takes like, if your video is like 3 hours long, it takes almost 3 hours to load it. So they've never upgraded that in the 8 years that I've been on Rumble in any way. That's why I stopped using it years ago because that was annoying to me because even YouTube, which is also slows things down because they want you to go live there, that wouldn't take like 3 hours to load a video. It still takes almost an hour to load a 3-hour video. Again, Google trying to force you to go live on their platform, right? So I can go live on Rumble and stream it live on YouTube and then still go live on Facebook or wherever else. And Twitter was doing okay, but I lost the access to it. And again, I have to go and give access. So that's becoming a pain in the butt, right? Thank you. Denise said, let me put this up on the screen for those of you around the world listening on the MP3 broadcast. You don't get to see the visuals. So Denise said, I loved your show with Augie last night. Thank you. I was on Broadcast Team Alpha talking about my book. We did a 1-hour segment, which I'll do a commercial for my book and put it up on the screen for you. I have a copy that I can hold up right there and show you. It is entitled The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. Let me put it up on the screen for you to see for those of you around the world that have the benefit. For those of you who have the benefit of flash photography, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. For those of you who don't have that, you're listening on the MP3 broadcast. You can find that, go online wherever you do your searches. And it's literally online everywhere in the world, except for places probably like places that are run by secular governments who don't allow spiritualism or any kind of religious belief. So China, Russia, North Korea, those 3 countries for certain. You will not be able to gain access to my book over there and have it delivered to you. But if you are from one of those countries and you can go outside of that country, you can buy the book, have it shipped to that place, wherever that is, outside of those countries. And because I know that people can come and go from Russia, they're not stuck there. North Korea, not so much, but I'm pretty sure they can too as well. China, it's a little harder as well, but you guys can do that. So let me come back over here to the chat because I wasn't on the chat, so I can't see what you guys are saying anymore because I went over there to put that up on the screen. Okay, so yeah, I had a great time. They were very gracious yesterday on Broadcast Team Alpha. That's up on their YouTube channel, and they have it also on their Instagram because I've already shared one of the reels that they've made from that on their Instagram. I shared that on Facebook for some of you guys to watch. And I know that it's going to go up if it's not already up on their Facebook channel. And that was streamed just like this, being streamed out to more than 70 countries. They're also streaming on MP3 out to more than 70 countries. They talked about that during the show yesterday. So so my show does the same. So that went out. I don't have a copy of the show to post on my podcast. So for those of you out there who listen to Orion Rising, wherever you listen to me on the planet, if you want to hear that, you'll actually have to go to Broadcast Team Alpha, either on YouTube or Facebook, or wherever you get your MP3 broadcast. And you can look at the episode that I did. And then about a month ago, prior to this book coming out, I had done a 1-hour show also on Broadcast Team Alpha, which aired on one of their Sunday shows. And so that's up there on their broadcast as well. Okay. So thank you guys for tagging people to get some of the people in here, right? Share this out, share this out, share this out. I've only shared it to one place. I'm live on Orion Rising, the page, and I shared it to my personal page. That's it. Usually I share it to 3 or 4 places, so I didn't have time to do that. And like I said, it's on Instagram. We're live there. It used to be on Twitter, but I lost contact with that one for some reason, the account. And so I decided to try Instagram to see, but I was only aware when I put the stream key in. The StreamYard told me that they only allow for 1 hour. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the Law of One wherever we are here. I only have one this episode, this session ready to go in audio anyway, so we'll be doing this. But if you guys have any questions, especially you guys on Instagram who might be here for the first time, if you have any questions over there, please go ahead and type them in the chat. I am monitoring that chat over there, so you guys can do that and share that out over there as well too. Okay, from Instagram, share that feed out to wherever you feel comfortable sharing it. Okay. So let's go ahead and start, because like I said, I didn't prime this. I was trying to get up to where we were. We were on question 17, but I said I was going to back up to about maybe question 15. I don't even know what question we're on right here. Like I said, I was running late. I was trying to do technical stuff. The internet is acting really weird this whole month of July and now into August. They had technical difficulties trying to go live yesterday on Broadcast Team Alpha. I've been having technical difficulties. People don't realize, because they're around the world telling you that we have global warming that is being caused by cow flatulence and our vehicles, and that we're messing up the atmosphere and everything that's going on. And what's actually happening is that we got hit with a big giant mass coronal ejection, a solar storm that actually blew off from the sun and actually hit the earth. That happened 2 months ago, and it's been happening ever since. We are currently right now going through that exact same event, and they're talking about coming up the skies because this mass ejection is going to hit us again, a new one, that the skies are going to be lighting up all over the planet, just like it did back in, I think it was June when that happened. So it's going to happen again. And we're going into the Kuiper Belt, and you're able to, if you can go outside, especially tonight, if you have a clear sky, you can go outside and start seeing the meteor shower, because we're moving through the Kuiper Belt. So the Kuiper Belt is messing up the electronics and our satellites, and then we have satellite disruption because of the coronal mass ejection, and all of that is also causing the planet to heat up, because we're having all this extra radiation from the sun that is bombarding our planet now for 2 months. So they're like, we've had the hottest July on record on the Earth. Well, the on record only goes back to 1948, just so you know. Okay. They didn't have the record. All the records that we go by are when we had the technology. Before that, it was written down by people who looked at a thermometer, and science doesn't agree with that for whatever reason. So even though we have a record in history, a historic record that goes back thousands of years, that's when they say the record, since we've been keeping tabs, means when we had the technology to prove the actual ambient temperature. That's only been since about 1948 or 1938. So the truth is, when they say we had the hottest July on record, it's not untrue. It is true, but they're claiming that it's global warming because of something we humans did. That's an actual lie. Scientists and NASA will tell you we're having a solar flare, a storm, a firestorm of radiation that is super heated, that is hitting our planet and has been for 2 months now. So the month of July being the hottest July on record is because we have been bombarded with a solar flare after solar flare after solar flare that's actually hitting our planet and heating up the planet. It has nothing to do with cow flatulence. It has nothing to do with our bad breath. It has nothing to do with our automobiles that are driving. Does that drive the temperature up slightly because we're adding crap to the atmosphere? Yeah, probably. But the good part about that, here's the part they don't want to tell you. All those particulates in the atmosphere that are up there are actually deflecting the sun's rays from causing damage to all of our electronics down here on the Earth, and you guys not getting a sunburn as you would if the skies were completely clear and we had clear skies and no kind of issues with pollutants in the air. Honestly, so the pollutants in the air are actually not enhancing. They're keeping the heat in, so the planet's hotter. But if you're standing outside, you're not going to get a sunburn as bad as you would if you're somewhere where there's not as many humans, and so you don't have a bunch of smog. You're going to get a worse sunburn because you don't have a lot of the particulates that we have in the cities that are breaking that up. They don't want you to know about that stuff. That some of this bad smog is actually protecting us. Right, Joanne, welcome. So if you guys don't say hi and you're in the crowd, then I don't know that you're here, okay? And I'll check Instagram. Like I said, I'll be back and forth in case you guys say something over there. Okay, so let's start with the law of one, where we are. We're on session 54, I believe. We'll get right into that. I think we're on session 54, and I don't know what question we're on currently because, like I said, I didn't have time to prime it. We're smack dab 10 minutes and 16 seconds into this session, so we still have another 11 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the session. So I'm just going to go ahead and press play and give you guys a sound check. You guys let me know if you can hear the law of one and raw, okay? And then we'll just go from there, okay? So let's continue here.
State of development where they can begin to program their own catalyst. Is this correct? Raw. I am raw. This is partially correct. The sub-logos offers the catalyst at the lower levels of energy, the first triad. These have to do with the survival of the physical complex. The higher centers gain catalyst from the biases of the mind/body/spirit complex itself in response to all random and directed experiences. Thus the less developed entity will perceive the catalyst about it in terms of survival of the physical complex with the distortions which are preferred. The more conscious entity, being conscious of the catalytic process, will begin to transform the catalyst offered by the sub-logos into catalyst which may act upon the higher energy nexi. Thus the sub-logos can offer only a basic skeleton, shall we say, of catalyst. The muscles and flesh having to do with the, shall we say, survival of wisdom, love, compassion, and service are brought about by the action of the mind/body/spirit complex on basic catalyst so as to create a more complex catalyst which may in turn be used to form distortions within these higher energy centers. The more advanced the entity, the more tenuous the connection between the sub-logos and the perceived catalyst until, finally, all catalyst is chosen, generated, and manufactured by the self, for the self. 54.18 Questioner, which entities incarnate at this time on this planet would...
That was random. We actually were on question 17, which is exactly where we ended last week, and I had no idea. I just went click. It stuck us halfway through the broadcast and was like, I don't know where we are now because I was going to listen to it and find out. That's hilarious. That's divine providence right there that I literally stuck us right at the end of the question, which is exactly where we left off last week. Isn't that funny? Okay, so we're on question 18, right where we're supposed to be right now. Let's continue.
Be of that category, manufacturing all of their catalyst. Raw, I am raw. We find your query indeterminate but can respond that the number of those which have mastered outer catalyst completely is quite small. Most of those harvestable at this space/time nexus have partial control over the outer illusion and are using the outer catalyst to work upon some bias which is not yet in balance. 54.19 Questioner, in the case of service to self-polarization, what type of catalyst would entities following this path program when they reach the level of programming their own catalyst? Raw, I am raw. The negatively oriented entity will program for maximal separation from and control over all those things and conscious entities which it perceives as being other than the self. 54.
Right. So let me back up a little bit, and for those of you who might just be tuning in today for either the first time, if you are, look at the description because the description explains what's going on. That this is a channeling session of a hive mind complex calling themselves raw. And this is one session that is approximately 30 to 45 minutes long of a 6-book series. We're on session 54 out of 106. What we're discussing here is, as you heard Raw talking to Dawn and answering the question about a person who is in service to self and how they're going about programming their own ideology, their catalyst of their ideology towards self. And what Raw is answering here is explaining that everything that they do to program themselves, either from a higher standpoint or down here in this place, mindset wise and knowledge wise, is oriented around themselves. So they're literally are motivated by the whole entire ideology and concept of power, money, control, fame of self, not of the other. And that's literally what Raw is just stated and is stating. And then Raw is going to continue with that information to clarify a little bit more about how it is or why. Deborah Anderson, welcome. Happy Friday, right? Unless you're on the other side of the planet or on the other side of the prime meridian, then you're into Saturday. If you're in Australia, it's Saturday. If so, Australia, New Zealand, and the Eastern Pacific on the other side of the prime meridian, and everybody else is going backwards. India and China and the like, they're all into Saturday already, right? I'm in the west coast of the United States in California, so for me it's Friday night, Friday afternoon, as a matter of fact, 3:21 p.m. Okay, so let's continue with Raw and the explanation of the programming or the orientation of the person, soul, into themselves as self, and making sure that they are in no way oriented towards other, because that is completely opposite of what they're about, because they're in service to self.
4.20 questioner. I meant I understand how a positively oriented entity would program catalysts such as that would result in physical pain if it. I'm assuming that an entity could program something that would give it the experience of physical pain if it did not follow the path that it had selected. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. Please restate query. 54.21 questioner. A positively oriented entity may select a certain narrow path of thinking and activities during an incarnation and program conditions that would create physical pain if this path were not followed.
Somebody could do that. The negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement, however, depending on how you look at that, is something that people do to other people, right? I mean, if you watch the movie Ghostbusters, in the very beginning of the movie, you see Peter Venkman sitting down trying to make time with this really good looking woman, and there's this guy that's with her. I don't know if they're together. They don't really talk about that, and I don't think they are, but he's hired them because he's doing a test, and he's got them hooked up to electrodes, and he's holding up the cards for psychic people that are like wavy lines and stars and squares, and he's holding it up, and if a person guessed the wrong card, he hits the switch and shocks them, because he's trying to see if by doing that he can stimulate a person to answer correctly and become more psychic. But every time the woman, no matter what she answers, he says that she's got it right and doesn't show her the card, because he's trying to pick up on her so that he can have sex with her. And the guy, he shows it to him when it's wrong and then shocks him. And he's doing that even more so to the guy than to the girl. And that's because he's trying to pick up on the girl and wants her to think that she's psychic. And he's definitely flirting with her, right? So, but he actually says, I didn't know, what is this that you're doing? And he's like, well, I'm studying the effects of negatively rewarding somebody for psychic abilities. And that was a theory that he was doing, but he was using it to try and make time with a girl, right? Isn't that funny? Okay, so let's continue. So it is possible, and people do that to themselves and to other people. And you have some people, if you saw the movie of the Da Vinci Code, you see that the monk who was Opus Dei in that movie, because Opus Dei is not actually about that at all in real life. And I know that coming from the standpoint of a Catholic knight, knighted by the Catholic Church and a minister in that religion, Opus Dei is about teaching people how they can serve and how they do actually serve God day to day in your daily day activities. And that's what they do. That entire order is about assisting people and showing them you don't have to go and do all of these great things or try to become a saint or try to become a priest or a nun. And that's not the only way that you can serve the Lord in your daily routine. You're already doing it, and they're showing people that and then giving them avenues to also educate themselves and other people. But in the movie, Opus Dei was a secret sect within the Catholic Church that was hunting down Jesus Christ's bloodline relatives to eliminate them off the face of the earth to keep power for the church. And they didn't want anybody to learn that that Mary may have been pregnant. All of this is based in history, as a matter of fact, which the church also denies in real life. So Dan Brown wrote a what if. What if that's true? What if Mary was pregnant with Jesus's child when Jesus died, and Mary supposedly showed up in the south of France? The people in the south of France to this day claim that, with a child. And that child, who was supposed to be a slave of hers, a servant, grew up to marry a Merovingian prince and became queen of France. But he was the king, so it was secondary. She wasn't in charge as the queen, but she was the queen consort to the king, and their children had a special ability. So there's a DNA, and the abilities that they had were there. So the church in the movie didn't want you to believe that first of all that was real, but they also were hunting those people down to kill them. And the guy from Opus Dei was wearing a belt made of basically a rebar, or I'm not rebar, but barbed wire, not exactly, but for all intents and purposes, on his leg, and he would whip himself, flatulence, whip himself so that he felt the pain that Jesus felt when he was tortured. And some people actually do that in real life and did for thousands of, a couple thousand years now since Jesus was gone. Not Opus Dei, unless there are somebody in Opus Dei that does that. The Mormons still wear garments underneath their clothing to symbolize that exact thing, to remind themselves of the very same fact. I'm not saying it's wrong in any way. I have tattoos, right? They do the same thing for all the different spiritual practices that I practice. So I don't have something that I wear that, I tighten up and it hurts me. But some people did that back in the day, right? So you could program, and that's what he's referring to here. Do people who are in service, getting back on point, do people who are in service to self actually do this thing? Well, the answer is no, not all of them. But just like the people in service to others who were followers of Christ, not all of them flashlight themselves, but some did, and probably still do. So on the same respect, people who are in service to self, yeah, I'm sure there is some people who do just that, but not as a practice. It's not something that is a widely traded practice in that religion. All right, let's continue.
Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. 54.22 Questioner, would a negatively oriented entity do anything like this? Could you give me an example? Ra, I am Ra. A negatively oriented individual mind/body/spirit complex will ordinarily...
I didn't see. I'm sorry. I'm glad you did get my attention, because I was looking at the chat before, but I didn't have my glasses on. Denise said, "I'm not yelling, but you are yelling." Leo, could you please answer the question, Cassie's question? All right. What was Cassie's question? I see programming for the positive. All right. So that's the last part of it. So what was the first part of the question, Cassie? Let me go back up here and take a look. Right. I see that part, but I don't see. Oh, here we go. Would programming mostly be like manifestation? Well, yeah, all programming. That's actually a good question. All programming, whether it's positive or negative, is a form of manifestation. So that's actually a great question. I'm glad that Denise got my attention on that one, because it really is. Everything is all programming and all manifestation are the same. The word programming, because we have computers, we use that word just like we used to call the algorithms programs. We used to call apps programs. Now they're called apps. They're just programs that you download onto your phone. There's no difference in them. I'm an app builder. I haven't built any apps for a while, but I don't know if I'm still listed, but I was listed in Apple's App Store as an app builder because I was building apps back in 2016, 2015, 2016, 2013, 14, 15, And in 16, I stopped doing it. So I was building apps, and I was planning on building a few apps to get rich off of doing that. And I didn't publish anything, but I was working on that. I've been a programmer since DOS. I've always been a programmer, and I saw the apps were the way of the future, and I was working on that. But my personal life got into the way, and my going down the road that I'm going down now, and divorcing and taking care of my mother and moving back to California ended all of that. And so I ended up doing this and speaking instead of making apps. But programs in programming is a form of manifestation. Television is called programs for a reason, right? So it is always a form of a manifestation, because whether they're doing it against your will or whether you're doing it to yourself in a positive or negative way, it is still programming you. So it is still manifesting that knowledge, whether it's good or evil, whether it's helping you or hindering you. So manifestation and programming should be the same exact word, just like a program in an app or an algorithm in an app. An algorithm is just a program, okay? And an app is just a program with a name. Do you understand that? So, and I don't mean like a personality, but some algorithms do have personalities these days. They're trying to program that into them. So a program is a function of manifestation. It is the catalyst to the manifestation. An app is the finished form of the program. But they used to just be called programs. When you would go and buy Windows, say for instance, Windows 10 to install it on your phone, or on your computer. You used to go and get a hard copy, which first was put on a floppy disk that you inserted into your computer, and then later on a CD that you put into your computer. And that would put the programming into your computer. Now they no longer do that because you do it online. So the online version of these programs were just called apps, because they actually had that program that is in the background on your computer, where you can go into programs, and it has Windows sitting there, and you can open Windows and take a look at what the function is of Windows and what's going on. The app now sits on your phone, and you activate it by clicking on the app. When you click on the app, it opens up to the window that is the control mechanism for that particular program. So the program's working behind the scenes, just like all programs are, and your desktop is now your computer screen that has these buttons on them that you call apps. They're no different than your home screen of your laptop or your hard computer. And there's windows that are sitting there that are open that have Windows there, and say it has whatever program that you use, DuckDuckGo for a search engine or Google for a search engine. So if you look on your computer, that program that's sitting there is no different than the app that's on your cell phone. And the symbol is the same, and it does the exact same thing when you click on it. Okay. So when you click on that, it opens up a window, and it has a search blog, and you type in the search engine, and there's commercials there. The other format has been formatted slightly different for your cell phone. But when you click on Google, it opens up the program, and what's there? A search bar that you type in the search engine and commercials. It's just a different format to fit in your phone when you turn it sideways or straight up and down. And the other one is just the same. It doesn't turn. So it's not designed to do that, because you're not taking your computer and flipping it around. Okay. So they call it an app. It's just a program. Okay. And its function, getting back on point to answer Cassie's question, its function is to manifest whatever it is that they have designed into that app or program to manifest when you open it. So the same thing happens in your brain when you're taught your entire life, when your parents and people of any kind of militant form or some sort of societal structure that says they are the authority figure, when they look at you and go, "Do you understand me? Do you stand under me?" Okay, that's programmed into your head from birth, that you don't realize that what they're saying to you is, "Do you submit to my will?" That's what they're saying when they say, "Do you understand me?" And so we use that word saying, and then, people need to understand. And we think that the definition of that word is knowledge that you gain from someone, when it's actually saying you stand under them. Understand, meaning Do you submit that you're a subordinate to me and my will? So that is a program that was programmed into you. And they lie, just like when they're trying to tell you that equality doesn't work and we need equity to force equality to work, because not everybody comes from the same place. So equality would be okay if everybody got $1 million. Well, wait, that just throws a kibosh to their entire rule, because their idea is, well, some people come from a poor neighborhood in, say, Detroit or Compton. Other people come from a rich neighborhood in the Hamptons. So $1 million, well, for $1 million to the kid who grew up in Hamptons is like $5. And he's going to go, that's not enough money. But for a kid, $1 million, if you give a kid $1 million who came from the south side of Chicago, that's a lifetime's worth of money, and they're going to be grateful for that. So they don't tell you that part of the equity trying to rule over equality, because the truth is, if you're giving everything away for free to the poor kids, they're going to be happy with it. If you're giving everything away to rich kids, they're not going to be happy with it, because they already have all that from their rich parents. So they're like, I'm not getting anything better, but nobody's showing you that that's inequality. Okay. But what they're saying is that, well, if you give a box to 3 people, and there's an adult who doesn't need the box, and a teenager who does, and a little boy who needs the box but still can't see over the fence to see the baseball game, we have to have equity to force that guy to get off the box because he doesn't need it, and give it to that little kid because that little kid's at a further disadvantage. That assumes that guy is evil and in service to self and won't do anything to help that little boy because he doesn't have to, because he doesn't know the kid, and I don't really give a crap about that kid. And they're telling you that everybody's actually evil and won't do the right thing. Do you see? That's programming. The entire concept of all of that is programming. They're programming you to manifest in you that which they want you to have manifest, and only the part of that equity that they want you to realize and manifest. It's called the program. So programs and programming something is a manifestation and a form of manifestation always in everything in the universe, whether it's a positive or a negative. If you are saying something to yourself because one of your parents said something to you, you're stupid, you're a dummy. Oh, look at you. There you go, spilling again. You're good for nothing. If you start repeating that because you've heard that most of your life, there is a negative program that is programmed into you that has diminished your self-esteem, and you don't even realize that that's happened to you, and you automatically say the things that you used to hear one of your parents or whoever it was that abused you that way say to you, and you manifest that again because it was programmed into you to do that. You spill something and you yell at yourself the same way your parent did because it was programmed into you. That's a manifestation. That program got into your head, and it created that scenario that you paid forward and you're continuing to use to actually propagate that negative energy and connotation from your parent and that abuse. And you're continuing that until you become objective with that in your own self and realize, man, why am I talking to myself this way? I need to stop that. And every time you think those thoughts or say those thoughts, you correct yourself. Eventually that will change. You have to reprogram yourself to manifest that negativity away. So everything is programming, and everything is a manifestation, because that's what programs do. So that was a great question, Cassie, and I'm glad that you asked it. I'm sure you asked it on purpose just for me to say that live to the world, because everything is programming and everything does manifest. So whether it's positive or negative, this is why people like Bruce Lee back in the 1970s said, never say anything negative about yourself or even think anything negative about yourself. When you're writing something, why do you think they call it spelling? You're casting a spell. You're programming that. I literally have Star Wars Episode 1 on the television, and just before I went live, Qui-Gon Jinn said to little Anakin Skywalker, remember, your focus determines your reality. And I just smiled, not knowing that's what we were going to be talking about. But I'm like, there's the quote that he said, your focus determines your reality. So what you focus on, positive or negative, is going to determine the outcome of your reality, of what's happening to you. We discussed that in the logos and what the logos is yesterday on the show, and I actually posted last night logos and the meaning of it, because most of the words that we use are based on Greek and Latin words in English and our sciences. The problem is that we pick one definition of a word. The word logos is the word that the Greeks used for the word of God. Okay. And what was the word of God? Logos actually means word. So, but the word of God is not word. Do you understand that? There you go. See, there's the programming. Do you understand that? There's the positive programming. So the word logos on its definition is where we get the word logic from. Logic doesn't mean love. Logic doesn't mean a word that God spoke. But the word logos, that definition was used as the word, as for the word. That word, that logos, that word logos meant word. So when I'm saying that word logos, I'm saying that word. I'm just saying in a different language. Word. But the word logos, if you look it up in the Greek, ancient Greek language, means logic, reasoning, love, and a few other things. Most of the ancient words in Hebrew, Sanskrit, Egyptian, even old Latin, they were concepts and they were subjective, determined by the sentence structure that you use them in. So you would insert a word, and depending on what you were talking about in that sentence, that word would take on any number of meanings. Like, for instance, the English word run, which has more than 150 definitions in the modern dictionary, because that word is a concept word that we didn't change. It's still the entire concept. So to understand which word you're meaning is context of the sentence structure, right? So the word run, well, I'm running the act of doing a machine, or I'm running down the street. Same word. They mean completely two different things, but on the face, but on the scientific, they mean the same. I'm operating this machine that is my body, and I'm moving very fast in doing so. Do you see? But the definition is running, moving your feet and at a very fast pace and moving, not driving a car, not running the car. Do you see? So I could go on half the day just talking about the word run and running, or to run or ran. All of those versions of past, present, and future for that particular word, context of a sentence. So the word logos means the word of God, but it also means what God's word was, which is love. Creation. The word creation is synonymous with the word love. The word logos is synonymous with the word, creation, logic. It's where we get the word logic from, logi, logos, and love. But they'll only give you the secular definition of certain words. Esoteric. You don't even know, most people don't know there's a word called exoteric, which is the opposite. One's internal and one's external, both ancient Greek words, because they're masking and directing your programming into your head by telling you that a word means a certain thing. We have subcategories with noun, pronoun, adjective, and the like in English that describe that action in a sentence context. But if you don't learn that much about English, you just pick up the language because you were taught that. And if they don't teach you that something is a pronoun or a noun or an adjective or a past tense, present tense, forward tense, energetic tense, and because you don't know those things, you speak them all the time, but you don't think in your head, I need to use the word run as a noun. You just do it and don't realize that you did. That, again, is also programming to manifest that word in the proper way, not knowing what the definition of what you just did in that sentence is. That's what they're doing with say, everything in the secular arena. So they're doing that, and they're translating that into all of the search engines and their logic. They're putting it out there, and they're telling you, well, equity only, because equality, people don't come from the same place. So because of that, we have to make things equal, and we're calling it equity, not equality, because equality is not actually equal. Equity is actually equal. Do you see what they're doing there? They're reprogramming you into believing that value, because the word equity means value, means vested value, is actually equality now. That equality isn't equality. That's not equal at all. But the word says it's equal because it's the word equality, which means being equal. But that doesn't mean that. See, because that's what they want you to believe. So they're manifesting in you. We have to have control over you to make things actually equal. And you don't know that's what they're doing unless you're paying attention. So you're like, yeah, you're right. And because we wouldn't do the right thing, we need someone to tell us that. Who? Well, we'll do it. We're the government. So they're doing that in every facet of your life. That's called programming. So that's called a manifestation. They know they're casting a spell on you, and they know that what they're doing is getting into your head and reprogramming your brain so that they have total control over you. That is what they're attempting to do worldwide. And they've been doing that since the dawn of time. All evil people are always trying to control you 100% of the time because that is what they do. Okay? And so that was a great question. I like the segue because it's important to realize that. You have to know it, you have to realize it, and you have to manifest that ideology in your brain and say, okay, Leo's like crazy and making things up. That's good. You can do that because then you're questioning. Just like I said yesterday when I was on Project Team Alpha, question everything because you need to. Critical thinking is what they don't want you to do. Therefore, you should do it. Okay. Somebody just posted on Facebook today a meme and it had a UFO, a spaceship in the background. And it said, I used to want to believe they were real. And I was looking around to see, but then the government said that they were real. So now I have to believe that they're not because they don't trust the government, right? Look at this assassination attempt of Donald Trump and what they've done with that. They've systematically eradicated it from the search engines. So when you try to look it up, when you look up assassination of Donald Trump or just Trump, you get information about Kamala Harris on Google. And they scrubbed that picture, the iconic picture from Facebook, Amazon, and Google of Donald Trump when he stood up with a bloody face and pumped his fist in the air and said, fight, with the American flag behind him that some reporter took a picture of and posted on the internet. They tried to eradicate that. They don't want you even seeing it. And people who are posting it are getting deleted for posting it. Because, they're not doing any kind of interference for a general election for the presidency of the United States or anything by deleting everything that has to do with an assassination attempt. In fact, Meta on Facebook, where I'm live right now, they have it's really annoying, by the way. They have their little AI device that is now hooked into their search engine. So when you're on Facebook and you want to search Facebook, you're actually talking to AI, and AI, when people said, was there an assassination on Donald Trump? The AI on Facebook said there was no assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That's fake information, and that's a lie and not true. Even though it actually happened and it's on film, and that somebody actually took a shot at him by 8 shots from a gun, killed one person and wounded 2 other people, and clipped Donald Trump's ear and almost assassinated him. The search engine AI of Meta on Facebook, until everybody said something about it and talked about it on all the media, and then they went, we don't know what happened there. That was amnesia. We have no idea why the AI device did that. Even though the AI device is being controlled by a human, and it's obvious that the human that was in control of the AI device programmed the AI device to say those things, because otherwise the AI device wouldn't have said it on its own. It would have just given all the facts that it knows from compiling, because that's what they tell you AI does. it goes on the internet. It pulls everything in off of the internet. So either there's more things out there on the internet that is saying that that was a hoax, and even though that there's all these videos that it's happened, which is very possible because all of the fact checkers and all of the websites and the mass media is trying to say that Donald Trump that didn't happen, nothing happened, there's nothing to see here, it was all fake, which again is programming. They're literally using their platforms to lie to people and tell them what you saw happen didn't happen. These are not the droids you're looking for. You do not need to see their identification. They can go about their business, move along. Okay, they're actually Jedi mind tricking you. That's called gaslighting. Okay, they're gaslighting you and telling you nothing happened 3 weeks ago. Donald Trump did not almost get assassinated. There isn't a dead body from a kid who was 20 years old that there's pictures on the internet of him dead. There isn't any videos out there showing an assassination attempt, and there is no picture of Donald Trump because it was doctored, and they apologized for that and said, well, it was based on the fact that there was one picture that was doctored and the AI picked up on that. So the AI, who they claim, goes out to the internet and picks up everything it can from the internet, makes a decision about that. Somehow, out of the billion pictures of Donald Trump, doing the same thing by 1 billion people worldwide, relied on one picture that was supposedly doctored that they can't produce to you to show you this is the evidence of a doctored picture, mind you. And because of that one picture that it saw that was doctored, it assumed all pictures were doctored. So instead of compiling and saying, though these pictures are out there on the internet, there was one that was doctored, they don't give you that information. They say it was all fake. So there's a weird absolute that they claim. Here's the programming again. They claim that all of their AI devices only answer you by going onto the internet and accessing the internet and taking everything it finds and putting it together and giving you the highest percentage of probability about that subject and tells you that. And out of that, there was one photo that was fake, supposedly, that they haven't shown as proof. Out of the millions or billions of photos out there of the same photo, and it went to that one photo as the default and said all the rest of these are fake, not the other way around, which is what they tell you their program does. So somebody's lying. Either the AI is lying, which means it was programmed to lie, or the people that designed it is lying, or they programmed it to lie, or it was programmed to lie, or it's lying because they're lying because it was programmed to lie. That's me compiling all the evidence from the internet and from my own thought processes. The only way AI lies is because someone had to teach it to lie. Okay? So the programming had to have been stacked in the favor of that lie for AI to pick up on it. That's not what's going on the internet. Because if for every person who's posting it, there's one person saying, that's not true, didn't happen. So it should be 50-50, not defaulting the other way. But it is. Why? Do you understand that? Do you understand that? That is programming. And that is what they're doing in this reality. This reality is programming. And everything they do is to program you to believe a narrative. Just like with Kamala Harris, and here I'm talking politics, so half of you out there are going to say, see, he's a Republican, I hate him, I'm out of here. Kamala Harris has now run away from everything that she has said in her entire 60 years of life and her entire 35 or 40 years of her life in politics. She is now running from that as fast as she can, and everybody in her campaign are saying she never said those things. Even though there's film footage out there and people are pulling the film footage up and going, then who's this? And because it worked when they said everything negative about Joe Biden was a cheap fake, not even a deep fake, so they didn't even get the lie right, which I found funnier than everything, is that they didn't even get the terminology right. It tells you they don't even know what they're talking about. That's a cheap fake. Anybody that knows anything about fake and deep fakes has never been called a cheap fake ever. So they're calling it a cheap fake. They can't even lie properly. So when the first time I heard it, I'm like, they're so lying because there is no such thing as a cheap fake. Because a cheap fake is so obvious that it's fake that everybody sees it. Yet, when the people said that about what happened with Joe Biden, newscasters went, this was the news pool video feed. Those are the cameras. If you don't know what that is, those are the cameras because you don't want to have 150 or 180 or 200 countries out there with cameras trying to film 280 people with one camera each, minimum, trying to film what the dignitaries from around the world are doing. And if you have like 10, 15 countries, leaders standing there, then you're going to have every news agency from every single country. So in the United States, there's what if every news channel shows up? There's got to be about 1 million news channels in the United States. So that's 1 million people standing with a camera just for the United States and every news agency in every single city and every single town. Then you have all the people that are recording for the radio, all the people that are recording for podcasts, and then you have that for all the countries. So you wouldn't have about 1 million or 5 million people trying to film what they're doing. They set up like 4 cameras and they record it, and everybody like a United Nations goes into that feed and they take that feed live to all of those other cameras. So when they were saying this stuff that Joe Biden did was a cheap fake, people were like, but we got it from the news poll feed that is set up as the United Nations for the world to be able to access to film all this stuff. So are you saying that you guys faked it? Never mind that now. Those were edited afterwards. No, we showed it live, and this is the recording from live that we're showing you now of the person doing it that we got from the news feed. Nobody has played with this at all. This comes from the live feed. We recorded it. We're playing it back to you. Never mind that. Don't believe and so again, programming. Why? Because they were trying to manifest in your mind not to believe what you already see with your eyes. They're lying to you. What you're hearing and seeing is not real. What we tell you is real. And then Joe Biden, live on air, showed up at a debate and fell apart and almost fell down the steps, and his wife had to hold on to his feet to take down 2 steps. And then they yanked him out of the presidency in the running and inserted a new person. And it took her from then, you guys don't know this around the world, until today, from the day they set her in there as this is our new candidate, she was not the new candidate and still isn't officially. But the negotiations with all of the delegates who are from the states has come to fruition today at noon, 4 hours ago, was when they finished negotiating with all individuals who were the delegates from every state. However they manage this, money, power, fame, a horse, somebody blowing the guy, having sex with him, don't know. All of those people have said, we will give our delegation of delegates to Kamala Harris when we get on the 15th of August at the convention today. So everybody was like, she's the new person running for president. No, she's not. She's not until the convention when they actually officially give that. They have pledged, as of today, the 270 votes that she needs to become that nomination. So she's still only the presumptive nominee today. And they're out there going, Donald Trump's afraid to debate Kamala Harris. He's not afraid of debating anybody. Right now, there is no actual official Democrat running for the president of the United States. There's a presumptive one, and that's Kamala Harris. And it took until today, 4 hours ago, for the delegates to say, yes, we have 270 electoral votes that we will dedicate to you in 2 weeks on the 15th. So officially, she's now officially the presumptive candidate for the Democratic Party. And so she's not officially going to be the candidate for the party until on the 15th at the convention. So right now, she could be pulled out just like Joe Biden was by the Democratic Party, and somebody else could be inserted in the next 2 weeks. So Donald Trump is going, how about we wait until we find out who the actual candidate is, and then we'll definitely set a debate, right? And so you guys have to realize this, again, is programming. And then on the other side, Donald Trump is sitting back going, I don't have to debate someone who's not legit. I debated Joe Biden and he got removed. I didn't have to debate him, and I did, and you guys removed him. I say if everybody's worried about that, he should have a debate with her tomorrow before the convention, because she might be removed too. He can start knocking these people off, right? But he's not doing that. He's actually being gracious, and everyone's trying to say that he's afraid. I'm like, if I were him, I'd go, let's get a debate as fast as possible. Right now, man, we'll knock this one out too. Pow, put another one in the ring. Pow, and club them all down. But you have to realize that he's using the art of the deal, the art of war, on the other side, programming you at the same rate that they're doing. This is called politics. It's their religion. You need to understand that. So I'm not actually trying to advance either. You guys got to figure out what you're going to do when it comes to that if you're in this country. And if you're not, you can always fly in and vote. Just know that. Wherever you are on the planet, book a flight, because you can actually vote in the election in a democratic state. Fly in here to California. If you're from Russia, China, come on in. That's what they're going to do anyway. So if you get here, you can vote. Just show up. You don't even have to have a ballot. You can just walk up to a place and get an interpreter to talk for you. They can't even ask you if you're a foreign dignitary. So you could show up, literally get off the plane, go out to a voting booth, vote, and vote yourself as president if you want. And there's nothing that anybody's going to try and do to stop you. So I say we should get a delegate from China, and they should fly in about 1 billion people and elect Xi as president of the United States. Pen him in. You guys can do that. So start booking flights. Just raise the population of the United States on November 5th by about 1 billion people. Fly everybody in. America's not going to complain. They'll make all kinds of money. All the airlines will love to have all your money. Send them over on boats. Everybody get off the boat. No one's going to question you because they won't. And you guys can vote yourselves into office as the president of the United States. Never mind that you have to be an American citizen and above 34 years of age and born in this country, because you can still at least vote. I say you do it because it's not going to change anything. And you might get yourself voted in as president. What are they going to do then? If Xi Jinping gets elected president, hey, everybody pinned him in. There was 1 billion souls. There's 1 billion Americans. And then they're going to go, there's not 1 billion. There's only 360 million. There's 1 billion votes for him. Are you going to lie and say we cheated? Is the Democrats going to lie and say we cheated? Are the Republicans going to lie? There's no cheating. Because if there was no cheating in the last 2 or 3 or 10 elections, there's no cheating in this one. I'm just going by the rules you guys set up. I think it would be hilarious. People just get off the boat, come in, flying in, Arabs wearing their burqas and everything, show up, get an interpreter, bring one with you, and go in. And where does this person? You can't ask me. That's racial profiling. Here's my lawyer that we brought with us. We're suing you and you and you and you in the state of California and the state of New York, and we have our say. We get to vote. I say you do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Now they'll probably have the FBI knock on my door for sedition or something. But hey, they set the rules. If the rules are, it doesn't matter who you are and where you're from in the world, then I say to all of you in the world, book flights. Get over here and vote because you can. Because the Democrats want you to do it. Make sure that you say, Gavin Newsom said, I can vote. Put that down on the ballot. Ask Gavin Newsom, you don't like the idea that I'm voting? Ask your governor. He said that anybody on the planet can come in and vote because that's the law. Work on it. Everybody in Australia, fly into America. You get to vote. Okay? Everybody in Russia, come on over. You get a vote. Because all you got to do is check where you're landing. Because if you're landing in Texas, you might get arrested and deported. But if you land in California or New York or any other state that is run by the Democrats, so look that up before you get here. Book your flight. Fly into theirs. They'll give you free housing too. Right? So they'll throw kids out of a school to make sure you have a place to stay. All you have to do is come in and go, I'm scared. I defect. I'm afraid. I'm here for asylum. And they'll give you all kinds of money, all kinds of place to live, but you can't move to a state that the Republicans own because they'll put you in chains and send you home, right? So move into the state capital of California, ask for Gavin Newsom's address once you get here and go live in front of his house. When he leaves to go to the store, go into his house. We have laws here in California that protect you. So if you're in his house, he has to try and evict you and go through court. He can't just come in and have people pull you out. And if he does, you film it and then you sue him and you make a lot of money. and then they'll deport you and you'll be rich because you'll get about $4 or $5 million out of them, and then you can go back home. So I say to everybody around the world, you should look into all the laws they've passed for you and utilize those. Make sure you bring everybody over here, sleep on the streets right in front of their houses, block their way so they can't get in and out of the house. It's legal. They can't do anything about it anymore because they passed those laws. As soon as they leave, go into their house, make some sandwiches, hang out, watch TV. When they come back, tell them you live there. So all you have to do is write on a piece of paper, I live here at this address, and that guy sold it to me for 50 cents. Then you give him the same piece of paper that you signed and give to him. You both own the house. It no longer is owned by Gavin Newsom, and you can live in his house. They have laws. It'll take them 6 to 8 months to get you out of there. Okay. So you guys can all do that. And most countries are the same way where this progressive ideology is. So look it up in the country. If whatever country that you're in, you can do the same thing. Give up your citizenship. You make better money and you get more shit by doing that. I said that when I was like 18, I'm going to change my name to Juan Valdez Villalobos Ramirez. Because if I do that, I get everything for free. If I keep my name as O'Neill, I'm shit. I don't get a place to live for free. I don't get a cell phone for free. I don't get medical for free. I don't get money and food for free. All I have to do is walk across the border and turn around and go, I defect. I defect. What's your name? Ivanov. I have no ID. They stole it from me when they hit me on head. They hit me in head, scared shit in me, and now I'm here. I want to defect. I am from Mother Russia, and I defect. I want to come to America. Great place. I vote for you, Democrat. You Democrat, I vote for you. Bam. $1,500 a month food for free. $1,500 a month credit card for free. $2,000 cell phone. $10,000 a night freaking hotel room. What are we doing, America? You know what we're doing wrong? We're telling people we're Americans. Throw away your ID. Go across the border. Come back across the border. Doesn't matter how you do it now. You can hop a fence. Come back in and go, I defect. You're fine. If you learn Spanish, even better. You'll get everything for free, and all you got to do is go put up in a motel, lock your door so you don't have to deal with all the other people just in case they're bad people. And then you just call room service. Hello, room service? Yeah, I want that salta borga for $10,000 a plate, please. You give me 7 of those. No, there's 7 of us in here. There's me, myself, Irene, Joe, Frank, Bob, and a few others that are in my head. Yeah, bring all the food up. Yeah, put it on the taxpayers. Who cares? Yeah, cool, man. Call your mom back in the other country. Mom, we're rich. Get on a flight. Get up here. Oh, I'll send you money. I'll send you money over there. They're giving me cash. I'll give you money. Get on a flight. Pack your shit. Come to America and say, I defect. I'm afraid and need asylum. You'll get everything for free. I say if everybody around the world does that, you guys all come into this country and overwhelm the population here. But you got to make sure you move into a democratic state, look up the people who are running the state, find where they live, and go and squat in front of their houses, go and squat in front of the state capitals of all the democratic states and tell them that you want everything for free and block them from going in and out of the buildings until they give it to you because they all are telling you to come here. Don't move to Republican states because those people are going to push you back out, and then everybody that's in a Republican state, you should be loading these people on buses and moving them to the Democrat states like you started doing and get them out of your states and put them in the places that are over here. Let California's population double or triple and go up to 100 million people in the state of California. Businesses are leaving the state of California in droves. Chevron, who has been in the state of California for 150 years, has now moved into Texas today. Bye-bye, California. We're getting the hell out of this place. Companies are leaving California for the first time in history, and they're not just leaving in 1 or 2. They're leaving in droves by the thousands. They're abandoning the state and running away, and they're doing that to all of the Democrat states. So as that happens, people are also leaving, and the only ones that are coming into these states are these illegals from around the world. So eventually, California's population is going to be Mexico, and the Mexicans are just going to put their flag up. They're already kind of doing it. They're already going to put their flag up. So if you live in Mexico, you better learn Spanish. I'm doing it because that's going to be the language in a minute, and the Mexican government's going to move their military onto the border of Nevada, Oregon, and freaking Arizona, okay? Because they're just going to extend their borders over to here. And if not, it's going to be Russian because there's a lot of them coming over here too. It's true. It's true. So until their economy crashes, until all the businesses stop selling stuff in those states, which is now happening, and then they don't have anybody that they can count as constituents. That's why they're trying to change the laws to make all these legals citizens. They have to. Okay, they have to. I think I'm no longer live on. It still says I'm live on. I'm saying that because I went live more than an hour ago, and it still says I'm live over here on Instagram when it told me Instagram is no longer live after an hour, but it's still showing me that I'm live. So hopefully I am, and hopefully you guys are still over here. I see there's a bunch of people in the crowd, but nobody's talking over there. So I still see you on Instagram, right? I still know that you're there. Okay, so let's get back to the law of one. But all of those examples of everything I just gave you, including what I just said, is a form of programming. It's a form of manifestation. Okay, so I know that some of you were like, my God, he's gone crazy and he's completely talking about politics. And what does this have to do with what he was talking about or what Ra was talking about? Everything I just did to you, everything I just said was an allegory, because I don't truly want any of that to happen, because I live in the state of California and it's bad enough now. So if truly the population triples and they're all illegals and they start, we'll probably be better off if the Mexican cartel runs the place instead of these fools in this state. I don't know. But my point is that literally all of that is the programming, right? I know, Cassie, you're actually learning Spanish too, right? Yeah, but you're not for the moving to California. God, I hope not. I think we should. That's why I've learned. I started learning Spanish when I was in 7th grade. Okay. And because at that time you could pick either Spanish or French. And now that I realize how easy Spanish is for me because I live in this area, I should have taken French then, although I'm taking French now. Because French is a little bit more difficult of a language to learn than Spanish. But the reason I say that is because I live in California. California, the name California is a Spanish name. It used to be called that when it was owned by Spain and the Native Americans who lived here. They actually called it something different, the Native Americans, but then it depends on which group, because there was like 150 different Native tribes in this what we call the state now. So they all called it something different, but it all meant the same thing. It was just different versions of it, just like any other language. But because of it's part of the culture here, that I grew up learning it. So I know Spanglish really well. I know Mexican really well. Castilian Spanish, it's a little more difficult to learn. That's what's being taught on Duolingo because it's the proper language. That would be like learning proper English when they teach you English. That's not what they teach in America. They teach American slang. They don't teach proper English from England here, but that's what you would learn if you were on Duolingo. You would learn English that the English people consider proper, not American slang or Australian slang or one of the other versions of English. So Castilian is what you're learning when you're on Duolingo, and that's a little more difficult because they have different words that they use that the Mexicans don't use, and then Mexico uses some words in a way that is not the same word in Spanish. Like when I was taught in the 7th grade, slang at the time, Mexican slang, was a term that you would say that means roughly in English, that's really cool, man. Is the words SOS. In Spanish, that means that is, or this is, or that is, depending on how you put it into a sentence. Okay, but when you said that in Mexican slang, it meant that is cool, that is good, this is cool. SOS, SOS, hey, ¿qué pasó? SOS. And the teacher taught us that when I was in 7th grade. It was a slang term, but the actual Castilian words, SOS, means that is, or this is. Not this is cool, this is great, that's freaking cool, man. Just like back when I was a kid then, the word bad meant good. Hey, that's bad, bro. Dude, that's bad. That meant that was like really cool. Fire is what people used to say. I don't know if they still do now. But a few years ago, everything was fire. And then it's on TV. And if it's on TV, that usually means that the kids have already moved away from that and they have another saying by about 10 years. And if you're a parent, you know that, right? One of the women on the news, someone said that, and she said, that used to mean this to my kids, but they don't say that anymore. And now it's on TV. TV and movies are always 3 to 5 years behind the actual street language. So when you hear people saying it in a movie, unless it was done by young people who made the movie like this week, or they filmed it in the last 6 to 8 months. Chances are they're saying something that people aren't even saying anymore, and the kids know it. And they go, "We don't say that anymore. That was so yesterday, bro." Okay. All of that is programming, and all of that manifests something inside of your psyche and changes the way you perceive your reality, or the way you think, or the way you speak. And so when you have to always think in terms of concepts when you are hearing words. What is the concept of what that word is? Program, app, they're the same. They're synonymous. They're all manifestations of something that is put together to have a function, either to work for you or against you. And your own thoughts work the same way. They asked me yesterday on the show on Broadcast Team Alpha about the universe and the science seeing that there was a lot of holographic things acting like holograms or computer programs in the universe. Michael Talbot, I have his book here somewhere. I think it's buried. Has a book. Yeah, it's buried. I think it's Michael Talbot. Yeah, Michael Talbot. Let me look past the computer here to the shelf. Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe. That's a book that was written like, I think, in the 60s or 70s, and it starts out with giving you the scientific research that led up to the modern day ideology of holograms, going back 100 years, 150 years coming forward. So if you're not a scientist, you would probably be very bored with that. But they get into how they discovered that the brain itself, looking for memory centers in the brain, and this has to do with programming. This is why I'm telling you this. Trying to figure out where memories were stored in the brain, whether it's human or any other animal. Science then would do things, and for some of you, it's to hear this is going to be kind of horrifying. But they would take, and cut the skull and pull it off and pull the brain out of animals, and they would dissect the brain and put it back in, or do it while it was still hooked in and cut pieces of it out to see how that would affect the motor skills, memory, and things of the animal. And they found that almost every animal, it didn't matter how much of the brain you cut out, that they would still function the same. And so they started trying to figure out why that was the case. They didn't understand it because we didn't have holograms. We didn't have programs back then. We didn't have computers. And the hologram wasn't invented until like 1948. A lot of stuff happened on this earth in 1948, by the way. You should look at Europe and see why it is that so many things were discovered. And because the weird thing, happened in 1948, whereas, there was no alien crash in 1948 in Roswell, New Mexico. So they didn't have crashed UFOs, spacecraft from another race off world to reverse engineer. But our technological leap forward from 1948 was astronomical that year compared to all other years in the history of the human race. And we made more advancements from 1948 forward than we did the entire species prior to that combined. But, there was no UFOs flying over the White House. There was no crash landing in Roswell. There was no spaceships for them to look at. There was no, watch the documentary Above Majestic. There was no Nazis in 1938, 10 years earlier, dealing with UFOs, dealing with aliens who were giving them UFOs, and that they had technology research themselves that by 1945 to 1947, the American government got a hold of when they defeated the Nazis in Nazi Germany. And then coupled with some other information that didn't exist from the balloons that crash landed in Roswell, the American government and everybody in Europe didn't all of a sudden have this technological explosion that happened starting in 1948 to 1954. Oh, wait, they did. But so you guys should look into 1948 and see what technology exists, including the hologram, is my point. And they started realizing that the human brain, or all brains, work as a hologram does. And they didn't know that until they discovered a hologram and then saw what an example of a hologram was and how that acted. And I'm not going to get into all the details of that because that is science that you should read in Michael Talbot's book. Because if I get into that, I could spend hours just telling you and explaining to you what all of that is. The purpose of that is that everything that goes into your brain is not stored in specific locations, which is what they thought forever on the history of this world until 1948. And then with the advent of computers, the reason that we have computers is because of a hologram, and because of that thought process and realizing what's going on coming forward, we were able to create a computer because of reverse engineering from somebody else that didn't happen, because there's no evidence that we invented any of these things, including a hologram, that we didn't discover them, that they were just there. And they weren't there before 1948. And then from 48 on, they were just there and people were working on them. So you should really go back and look into that and find out what happened there and how we got that information. But they find out that, this is why I show you that image of the one brain cell and a radial image of that next to a radial image of the universe. And they're identical. The difference is the brain cell is exponentially less rudimentary than less densely populated by the ganglia cells, the glia cells in the apparent universe, imaged the exact same way, and neural pathways. So because we're so much simpler than the universe, our brain cell is identical but very rudimentary comparative to the universe, but they're identical. So the only way that can happen is that our brain cell, one cell in our brain, is equivalent to, on a microscopic level, to the macrocosm of the universe. So the universe itself appears to be one single brain cell. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Why is that important? Because we also have in the universe, and science, who don't believe in God or the creator of the universe, also sees other similarities to computer programs, which are based on the idea of holograms and holographic memory, which is what our memory uses. Science has gone through the process of realizing that before they knew what it was. And then when all of a sudden there was technology that they have no advent of, they are correlating that now and saying, as within, so without, as below, so above, weirdly, because they don't believe there's a creator or a God, and God said those words. What? 2,000 years ago. Wait, what? And that everything that goes into a hologram, programmed into the hologram, is dispersed throughout the entire hologram. Everything that goes into our memory is dispersed throughout all of our memories. Everything that goes into the universe is dispersed throughout the entire universe. Science has proven that with certain theories. Proved it. Okay? They don't understand it and they can't explain it. However, they do know that if you do something to a particle here, that instantaneously, no matter how far another particle is that is attached to it, away from it can be 1 billion light years away. It will move faster than light, faster than time, and it will have the exact same effect on that particle no matter where it is, no matter how close or how far apart. Science can only explain this by the holographic ideology that everything that happens to the all instantaneously. They don't understand what neural pathways are that send this information to different places, yet some of us that are theologians who read religions and spiritual practices, there's this commonality that all religions have that's called a tree of life. And the concept, according to ancient religions, which I mention in my book, the reality about reality, returning to the old ways. And my new book that I'm writing, specifically writing more about that, which will be out in a couple of years. Some of us are noticing these correlations. But people who are secularists, who don't want to believe in the creator of the universe, they don't want to see that this tree of life in Egypt, or the Hebrew tree of life, and the Asian tree of life, and the Viking tree of life, and all of these fabled religions that were created and invented and not real, are all talking about the exact same neural network in nature, the universe, and the human body. And that there's this neural pathway. You can call the energy of that metachlorians, Star Wars, Jediism, the Force. There's this information highway that connects all of the universe together. Sound familiar? That connects all of the universe together, or realities together, or archetypes together. Do you see how all of these are correlating now? And there are how many of those? Oh, let's start with 7 major arcana and move into 10 lower minor arcana of realities of the tree of life, Yggdrasil, that make up the whole totality, integral system of the human body, nervous system, the trees of life, that is a neural pathway inside the human body that when I think a thought and I say move my finger, electricity, metachlorians, travels down this Yggdrasil tree of life, goes all the way out to my finger and to the neural pathways of my finger, tree of life, Yggdrasil, and tells my finger to do what my brain says for it to do. That all of that is acting the same way as a hologram. Concept in my brain, finger move, and the finger does what it's told to do. I don't have to think, move my left finger in a fashion of squeezing it down and up, down and up. The same way I don't have to say, inhale, lungs expand, bring in oxygen through the pathways into here, heart pumps so that that function happens, pull oxygen out of that, insert carbon waste from my body that came from my blood, charge the blood, send it into the pathways, neural pathways, Yggdrasil, tree of life, to feed life to all of my limbs, to sustain the energy of my body. I don't have to think all of those things. This unit does it automatically, and it does it on its own. Once it's started, it's a perpetual engine that will continue until the perpetual engine is ceased. That is programming, that is manifesting all of this reality of this place. Tree of life, as within, so without. Okay? All of that is, science is starting to see that everything is a computer. Everything is in our mind, externally and internally. Everything is holographic. That scares science because that suggests that there is a creator. Not only that, it suggests that we are living inside of the creator, not outside. We are living in a cell that is identical to our brain cell, one. We are living inside of something that is identical to a brain cell. So the neural pathways inside our head that's bouncing from brain cell to brain cell, calibrating things, is what's happening as within, so without, as below, so above, is what's happening between planets, solar systems, and galaxies in the universe. That'll fuck up your brain just trying to catch what I just said. Or you're just going to try and deny it all and go, you so just made that up. No, look it up. Science is pondering this today more and more and proving it. Every time they try to disprove it, they're proving it, and they come out with talking about it, and it's freaking them out. Because if you're a secularist, none of that can be true, because we're supposed to be just random events that happened, and there is no creator, there is no God. We invented it. Okay? So it's turning out that the idea of the Matrix is a little bit more legitimate than anyone imagined before. And that means that everything is a manifestation, that everything is a program. So that means that everything that you're doing, that I'm doing, that we're all doing, is we're programming that in ourselves to manifest that. So your focus determines your reality. What you believe creates this place and perpetuates it. If evil people are aware of that, and this is what Raw's talking about, because Dawn's asking specifically about that, and we'll continue here in a second. And I know that some of you may have just gotten here and you're like, I have no idea. And some of you may not be following me very easily. If you're used to me and you've been here, you guys are still following me just fine. You're in fact going, he spent a lot of time talking about that. We can move on because we get it. But the reason that I'm going on, I'm trying to hit the 7 allegory category, and I'm on 7. And I'm doing that on purpose so that the people around the earth who might be hearing my voice for the very first time, one of these allegories is going to resonate with you. And those of you who are like, you've been repeating yourself over and over, good for you for being aware of that. Because there are a lot of people out here on this earth that think I just said 7 different things distinctly. And that when I was talking politics before and about Donald Trump, that had nothing to do with when I was talking about Michael Talbot. When in fact, they were the same story, being told in a different way. Okay. So let's continue, right, with Raw in there. So the negative programming is a possibility just as much as positive. Now, imagine that evil people on this earth, they'll say the 1%, who I refer to as controllers in my the reality about reality, returning to the old ways book. What if they know what I just know, what I just said to you? What if they know the same thing I know? Because they do. Because if I can know it, they know it. If you can know it, they know it. So if I know it, but I'm not exploiting it because I'm not evil, I'm not in service to self, but they are. Everything that you have happening to you on the internet, television, radio, all media outlets is programming you by generating your focus to determine your reality. And this is what Don's asking about. And Raw is giving him examples, and he's specifically asking about negative people doing it. Let's continue here.
Early program for wealth, ease of existence, and the utmost opportunity for power. Thus many negative entities burst with the physical complex distortion you call health. However, a negatively oriented entity may choose a painful condition in order to improve the distortion toward the so-called negative.
Right, you guys are in the chat. Just those of you who know, I know I'm pausing again for a second, but this is important. A lot of you guys are talking about in the chat about this energy that's going on right now, because those of you around the world, if you're in any way starting to wake up and you're sensitive, you're aware of a lot of crazy energy that's happening to you. And if you're not aware of a lot of crazy energy happening to you, it is. Okay, there is a lot of crazy energy that's happening to everybody around the world right now. It's going to continue. It's going to wane and morph as this year goes on. But this year is an activation year. It's 2024. Do the math on 2024, 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, infinity. Right, 2 plus 2. 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 plus 4 is 8. Those 8 can go down to 2 again, but 8 is infinity. This is an infinity year, 2024. It's also the enigma of 24. So I'm actually glad you guys brought that up. Some of you are probably not going to understand this with what Raw's talking about, but you actually need this information a little bit more than the information of good and evil programming. But you need to understand this. This is 2024. It's an infinity year, and the enigma of 24. If you don't know what that is, you should Google that or whatever search engine you use, the enigma of 24. because this is the looping year. 3, 6, and 9 in the lower planes and the lower chakras. Is 9 is the hex boson. 9 is the everything and nothing. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. God said that to Moses 5,500 years ago when Moses went up on Mount Sinai talking to the burning bush. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. That is the 9 number, 3, 6, and 9. The 9 number, 9 in our mathematical calculations, is where everything repeats on itself. It goes 0, nothingness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then when you go to the next number, it is 1 plus 0, 10. 1 and 0. And then it becomes 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, all the way to 9 again. And then it refers back to 0, nothingness. And then you add a 1 to the next number. Okay, that is the 9 is the hex boson that controls everything. It is everything and nothing. It is 9 and 0. Okay, that is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The Omega is the end, 9. The beginning is the Alpha, 0. Okay, so the cycle goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And science has started realizing that that cycle isn't as accurate as they thought it was. And this is where they're trying to expand on pi, because pi is 3.14 or 159. And then that goes on for about 7 digits and returns. And it repeats for infinity. And they're realizing that when you do 3.14 and you divide that, it's 22 over 7. And if you extrapolate that out further, it becomes closer to a whole number the further out you go. Why is that important, Leo? What does that have to do with anything? That has to do with the holographic universe in the math. And you guys know that equation as fractals now. The other side of the coin, the other part of the equation that science just discovered, that is the internal to the external. Okay, why is that important? Because here again, we have all and nothing again. We have two sides of the same coin. Why is that important? Because science is starting to realize that the calculations of 3, 6, and 9 work on a third dimensional level for the third dimension. But when you try to get outside 3 dimensions and go into 4, 5, 6, 7 dimensions, that mathematics no longer applies properly, because 3 plus 3 equals 6 plus 3 equals 9 plus another 3 equals 12, not 10. It goes to 12. And then what's the cycle? If you go 3, 6, 9, 12, and you double that 3, 6, 9, 12, it becomes 24. 12 and 12 is 24. So 3, 6, 9 is a lower cycle of third dimension. That's a lower 3 chakras. Upper 3 chakras is the next segments, which is 12 through what? 12 to 12 is 24. It expands exponentially, but it's the same. It's a new octave. So the octave that is 3, 6, 9 is a lower 3 octave. And when you go to 12, that's the center point, which is your heart chakra. And then when the next octave is 12. So it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12. So instead of 3, 6, 9 stopping here, the 12 is the next step, which is 4 dimension, which is getting you to the heart chakra. And then the next place, because you go up 3 more chakras, okay, but those chakras are no longer 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. They're doubled. So it's 6 plus 6 plus 6. That is another 12, right? Or 6 plus 6 is 12, and there's 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 times, correct? So now you're getting to expand at the next octave that science doesn't know about. But if you know Terrence Howard and his theory, he's actually talking about those exponents between 12 and 24. So everybody is not understanding because they're still trying to use the math of 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. And that's where the pattern repeats itself. But the next time the pattern repeats itself in math is 24. That doesn't add up if you go 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, unless you continue doing that and don't go back on itself. If you go back on itself back to 0, which is counting by tens, then it's 1 plus. But if you go to 12 and use 12 as a repetitive nature instead of 10, then it becomes perfect, and 24 is the next repetitive cycle. This is the year 2024. Okay. And so when you add the numbers with the Pythagorean ideology, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4, that's 8, not 9, but 8. And 8 is the infinity symbol. It is forever. How does that apply to 24? That's the enigma of 24. It repeats itself after 32 cycles. 24 repeats itself, but the Fibonacci sequence repeats itself after 32 cycles, which means the acquisition is a 33 number, which is what? The highest ascended master number. And I know that this might be you guys might not be following this very well. I'm going to explain it more in my next book. If the clock face is 12 numbers with the controlling factor of the arms being the 1 in the center, not 3, 6, 9. We don't have 9 hours in a day. We have 12. 12 apostles. Jesus, 12 apostles. Every savior character, every hero character has 12 people rotating around them. Clock face. 12 followers, 1 leader. The 13. 13 warriors, like the movie The 13th Warrior. Okay. That number is repetitive after 12 with a controlling factor. 24 would be the next cycle, and that's what happens. So how is it that the Fibonacci sequence only repeats at 32 cycles? Because the Fibonacci sequence is the 3, 6, and 9 of controlling factor hex boson of 12 octave. So that goes to 32. So instead of having a clock face of 12, you have a clock face of 24 in the lower chakras, and then the next cycle above that is 32. With the 1 controlling it becomes 33. So they haven't discovered that in science yet down here on this earth, and they won't for a while because they still don't understand the enigma of 24. But they're starting to, and some very brilliant minds have done mathematical equations, and they realize that the Fibonacci sequence or the golden mean ratio, both of those repeat after 32 cycles. And that's the enigma of 24, and they don't understand that. Some of them have a really good idea as to this is the next octave. That's going into 5D, 6D, and 7D, going up to the next octave that starts at 8 dimension, going further. That's where you have 32 and 33 on the lower octaves and archetypes. And I know this probably is far past anybody's capacity for rational thought right now, so I'm going to stop there and not explain it to you. But if you're a mathematician of any kind, and a physicist especially, or have any of that background, that's going to freak you out because you've already Googled the enigma of 24. And if not, you can go to my reels and look it up. I posted it about a year ago now, and it was done by what's his name? I can't think of his name. He's one of the most brilliant scientists out there, and he's also a knight. Was knighted by the Holy Roman Catholic See, but he's not a knight of Columbus. I'm of that order. He's of the Portuguese Knights of I forgot what they called themselves. It's a different order, but it's still a holy order, just like I'm of the Knights of Columbus. He was knighted by the church in Portugal, by the Templar order in Portugal. I was knighted by the Templar order in the Americas. So they call themselves the Knights of Columbus. His calls themselves the Knights of Valor. No, the Knights of, because that's also an American offshoot. It's one of the names that the Templars called themselves when they had to disappear in 1207 on Friday the 13th, 1207. They went to Portugal and they called themselves one of the orders that's still in operation today. And they're direct descendants of the Temple Knights, and the Templars started the Knights of Columbus 150 years ago as an order back up here in the North American continent. And now there's like 5 million of us worldwide, and the Portuguese Knights are also equivalent, 4 or 5 million of them worldwide as well. It's another order of the Templar Knights that is just like the order of that I belong to. So they're on to the math because they have the background that I have from the Templar Knights that goes back 1,200 years, 1,500 years, and the math that they understood that most of the people in the world don't understand. I'm not saying I understand all of it because I'm still, I do mostly though. I do more than most people do because I can see it. I see the numbers in my head. So this is a year that is an activation year that is stronger than 2012, that is stronger than 1948, that is stronger than 2016, that is stronger than 2020. This is the next activation year will be 2032. Again, there's that number, okay? The enigma of 24, the enigma of 32, because the 33 is the next year, all right? And we've been working on the math because some people think that, if Jesus died when he was 31 years of age and he was born at year 0, then the year 2031 will be 2,000 years since Jesus' birth. But Jesus was actually not born on year 0. He was born somewhere around the year 7 or 8 or something like that. Or I would have to go backwards and look into this again because I'm confusing myself now. But still, it's very possible that the year 2024 is the 2,000 year anniversary of the crucifixion of Jesus' demise, by the way. Because if he was born in the year 7 or 8 BC, and he died in 31, that means that at 31 years of age, that means he died in the year roughly 21 to 24. So this year, the way things are kind of working, it might actually be 2,000 year anniversary. I think I did the math and said it was 2026. But if I'm off by a year in the past, I'm off by a year and a half in the future. So we did a calculation in an experiment one time that if somebody was off by 1 second of Jesus's death or birth, you could be off by as much as 50 years in the future, going 2,000 years. 1 second compounded over 2,000 years. What's 2,000 times 1 second? Figure out how many years that is, right? Because if there's 60 seconds in a minute and there's 60 minutes in an hour and there's 24, there's that enigma of 24 hours in a day. How many seconds are in a day? How many seconds are in a year? How does that translate to 1 second off if you're only off by 1 second for 2,000 years? What if you're off by a year in the past? Come forward to 2,000 years, and that is exponentially different again. But it's not exponentially like 20, 30 years in the future because it's still the same. 1 second becomes almost the same as 1 year in that, but it's still going to change from, say, 2021 to 2031. It could mean 10 years. Okay, getting off that subject and getting back. So everything that's going on is we have been hit by a solar flare that literally lit up the sky like the aurora borealis in the north and the south that are only seen in the far north and the far south of the planet. All the way down to here, I'm 38 feet above sea level and 60 miles from the coast of the ocean. And we saw the sky change color at this level. It was everywhere on the earth. That was because of solar radiation from a solar flare, a mass coronal ejection. There's another one that's about to hit us in the next few days. And there's been smaller ones that have been hitting us since the one in June hit us. Like an earthquake happens, and then there's 100 aftershocks. There was a mass coronal ejection and a whole bunch of waves that came behind it that were not as strong as the first one, and now we're going to getting hit with another wave. So when they say that we had, getting back to what I said at the beginning of the show, when we go back to that, and they say that we had the hottest July on record on the face of the earth because the temperature is like 1 degree hotter than it's been in every other time. Oh, but it has to do with cow flatulence and cars and what we're doing to the atmosphere. They're not telling you. This is the programming. They're not telling you the truth. You can look this up. It's there. Science is saying it. NASA is saying it. The news is saying, get ready. We're going to get hit by another one. We've been being hit by and bombarded by that. Yet they're like, oh, worse on record, and we have to do something about climate change. The politicians worldwide are telling you when they know it's because of a sunstorm. These are activations that are screwing you guys up, your sleeping habits, your eating habits. Some of you have headaches. Some of you are dizzy every now and then. You got all these things that are going on. And we just had a full moon, which made it even more. And it was a wolf moon and an activation moon. And now we're going into harvest moons. The solstice halfway point is this next full moon coming up in September. So it's not the next one here in August. So it's the one after that, or the one after that. It's the one in September. Because if you count we're in the winter solstice, or the summer solstice up here going into the winter. If you're in Australia, you were in the winter solstice heading for the summer solstice. The solstice is December. Okay. So in December 21st is the solstice. So this activation is going to continue all the way up to that solstice. But it's going to also continue until this year is over and we go into an odd year of 2025, which is 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. That's 9, which is the third dimensional solstice activation. So we're going to get, next year's going to be another crazy year, because that's going to be an odd number, but it adds up to 9, which is the Higgs boson in the third dimension. So right now you're getting this pull for you to go to the fourth dimensional ascension. You're ascending and being pulled to the fourth dimension, and it's going to be balanced by next year, 2026, doing the same and activating your lower chakras, and all of those are being activated from the center chakra, heart chakra. So right now you're being pulled out of the third dimension and illuminating the upper 3 chakras. And then the Kundalini energy is going to balance those next year. So by the time we get into 2027, things are going to be exponentially different for the human race, because this is an activation, which is the beginning of a 2-year activation, which is going to be partially into a 3-year activation, which is following the 3-year activation that just ended last year, that was getting ready for all of this. That if you know anything about Uluru, and you know anything about all of the chakras of the earth and all of those activations that the natives have been telling you about, this is the extended version that they haven't been giving you guys information about. And I'm giving you a little bit of extra information here. Okay, so this is the enigma of 24, and then we're going to return back to the stabler, more grounding energy next year. So here we are in August. We have September, October, November, December. So we have 4 months left in this year, which is a quarter of a year, again, 24. So we're literally starting the fourth quarter, another 4 of the 24, 1/4 of the year left on the activation. So this is going to get a little crazy, but the energy is going to change from being in your skull and that kind of energy that's giving you headaches, eye aches, and dizziness is now going to wane, but it's going to add up in a different place back in the heart chakra, because it pulled you into your crown chakra in this last full moon. And now it's starting to wane as we go back to the heart chakra for the winter solstice or summer solstice, depending on where you are on the earth, northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere. And then you're going to move back into the lower chakras for next year and pull back to the heart chakra again. So you're going to have this lowering and pulling the Kundalini energy back up. So right now, we're actually working on the Kunda buffer energy, which is the feminine energy, and we're expanding the consciousness of the human condition up into the higher planes, into the crown chakra currently. And that was what just happened to you on this full moon, which ended, when was that? Last week, right? Today's Friday. It ended like Monday or whenever that was, a week ago. So we're on to the new moon now. So we're waning back from the crown chakra to the third eye chakra currently. That's why the energy was really blasting your brain and your consciousness and your third eye and your eyeballs and your mind. And now it's going to start tailoring down and settle down August, September. And in September, you're going to be back down here. Okay. You're going to be in the third eye, and you're now waning back. So November is going to be in the throat chakra. I put it in the mouth because it's actually the voice, the voice box, the throat chakra. And in November, right, in October, November, and then the veil is going to be thin again going into the solstice. And then when you hit December, it's going to drop back into the heart chakra. Every summer or every winter in the northern hemisphere, we drop into the heart chakra, and every summer is in the heart chakra as well. So it balances that. And then come January of next year, all the activations are going to be in the lower chakras, as it pulls down, but it's not going to pull your consciousness down into the lower. It's going to ground us. But it's still going to be uplifting as the year goes on and we come back around to July, August, September of next year. But what you're going to get as you're moving back up into the crown chakra again to finish out 2026 is not going to be as hard to transmute as what you've just gone through. You've gone through the worst of it now. Okay, hopefully you guys weren't saying stuff when I was not reading it, but you've gone through the worst of it that you're going to feel in your third eye and your brain and your eyes and your head. The illumination is now going to set in and you're going to relax and be able to breathe as the Kundalini energy has gone to the top and it's staying there. And now what you're doing is settling back down to grab that was the Kunda buffer energy, the feminine. Now you're going to be going back down to pull the Kundalini energy up in 2026. Instead of the Kunda buffer energy, you're going to be pulling the masculine energy up as well. And so that the knot work becomes one at the end of 2026. But this part had to be all feminine energy on this year because it's the enigma of 24. It is feminine because it is the even number, not the odd numbers. The odd numbers are the triangles, right? That's the what you guys would call the fractals, the Fibonacci sequence, and it's the other way around. The spiral is the soft numbers, so the even numbers are the golden mean ratio. The spiral, the goddess energy. That's what we're going through now, is the goddess energy, and the hard part of the goddess energy ended on the full moon a week and a half ago. Now we're going into the new moon where it'll settle in. So once the new moon hits in about another 6 days, I think it is, don't quote it. Don't get mad at me and send me emails and stuff saying, you were off by a day. We're about to go into the new moon. So the moon is waning. When it gets to the new moon, that feminine energy is going to go deep into your archetypes and relax. And all of this that's happening to you will become illumination and no longer difficult. Okay? And then that wanes as we head towards the solstice. And then you're going to settle back in the heart chakra in the winter time, in the protective area of the heart chakra. If you're in the northern hemisphere, even more so because it is winter, where we're going into. And the god will die and be reborn again in the spring. So then we will then descend back down and be grounded by and renewed by the God energy in the springtime, and then make that ascension once again. We live on the cycle of the planet. So even if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're still on the cycle because they've programmed all of the cycles and all the days, months, and years as that. Even though you have the opposite seasons, you're still going by the same calendar of events. Christmas, you celebrate Christmas in the middle of summer over there. If you celebrated Christmas in the middle of winter down there, you guys would be more in tune with the planet. But since you do everything in a European style, which is northern hemisphere, and you celebrate Christmas not in the middle of July, although there's still people that do Christmas in July because they got that being sold on television now. So for those of you who actually do Christmas in July and not in December because you're down on the southern hemisphere, you're more in tune. We talked about this before. I talked about that with Rick before. Okay, so all of this that's been bad on you, for those of you who are sensitive and for those of you who are confused, know that that is now waning after the full moon that we just ended, and it's going to become more apparent when the new moon hits that that's a renewal stage. And then when you go to the next full moon, which I believe it's 2 away, I'd have to do the math, because 3 months from the December would be mid-September. So somewhere around right after my birthday, whatever that full moon is, from the 10th of September on, is the midway point, the halfway point between the summer solstice and the winter solstice. That's when autumn sets in. Okay. So that's the halfway point. That is when that halfway point is when you're going to be in your throat chakra and moving back down to the winter solstice in December 21st to 23rd will be settling in the heart chakra. And then you start to descend from there as you go to the rest of December, January, February, March, 3 more months. You will go down 3 chakras to the base root chakra to be renewed again in the Kundalini energy, the masculine energy, on a masculine year, 2026, which is equivalent of the 9, the hex boson of the 3 lower chakras, coinciding with the year 2026, 2026, 2 plus 2 plus 4 is 8, infinity. Okay, so it's the hex boson number. That's the God cycle until we go into 2027. Okay, and then that's going to change, and it goes back and forth, positive, negative, masculine, feminine. But the next big one is going to be 2032, going into 2033. Again, the next positive number in the 36912 segment from 24 to 32, and then 33 is going to have the same effect, only it's going to be bigger than this one. So be prepared for 2032. If you think that you've had a hard time in 2024, 2032 is going to be a bigger uplift. But everything that you get from the activations between now and then are going to prepare you for that. But you're going to see the world change in a very drastic way. And a lot of people are trying to push for it's going to be a global war and everybody's going to die, because that's the reality that they want to present to you with the programming so that you manifest it. Okay. So you have to realize that they're trying to manifest a global war. Look what they're doing in the Middle East right now. They can't say regional war that might lead to a third world war. They can't say that enough on the news. They say it, they must say it 100 times a cycle per channel, because they're trying to get you to manifest that, right? Today, right? Rocket fire from Lebanon. And now you have the Israelis might invade Lebanon. And if they do that, global war, third world war is going to happen. They can't wait for it to manifest, because they know that that's one of the possible manifestations of the outcome of what needs to be done. And they have to lower the population of this planet, because there's too many people like me that are teaching critical thinking to you guys and are waking you guys up. They got to stifle us, and they tried it with COVID. They're trying it with deleting us off the internet. That shit's not working. What's the next step? Try to shoot me in the head like they tried to do to Donald Trump to shut him up. And now they're trying to cover that up. Maybe you don't believe in that, but you know, what's either that or they make the Keystone Cops look like, and if you don't know who the Keystone Cops are, you should look that up. They make Tom and Jerry or the Keystone Cops look like they're the Secret Service right now. And the Secret Service look worse than the Keystone Cops, right? So either they're far more incompetent than 5-year-olds trying to protect all of our dignitaries in the government, or they're covering something up. The last time they acted like this, and a president was assassinated. Every time the Secret Service of the United States government has acted like this has been when there has been a successful assassination of a dignitary of the United States government. You should look that up. Okay. You should look that up. The last time they acted like they're acting now was when Robert Kennedy got shot and his brother John got shot prior to that. And the last time they acted like this was just look up how many presidents have actually been assassinated in the United States government, and look up the actions and investigations and forthcoming of the Secret Service and the American government, the deep state, the military industrial complex, and how they reacted to that assassination. And then watch how they come out with a narrative and then put a referendum on it saying nobody can investigate this because we don't want you coming up with more conspiracy theories for 100 years. That's exactly what they've done only when there's been an assassination of a president of the United States. And the only other time they did that was the January 6th investigation. Weird. You should look that up. Okay. So Raw's explaining, I know that I've gone like an hour talking about this. Raw's explaining how all of that works that I just explained to you. And the math that I just told you about was the 7th allegory that I said I was going to get into, explaining how this hologram works, that is this matrix. So for those of you who may have left already and said, this guy is just rambling, I actually just gave you 7 parables, okay, that are all saying the exact same thing in 7 different ways for 7 different ways that people think. if you're a mathematician or a theoretical physicist, and then I talked about I literally talked to you as a medium and a spiritualist just now, explaining the chakras. So there's your spiritual standpoint. I gave you the science standpoint before that. I started with the political persuasion of the conspiracy theories for the conspiracy-minded people, and then moved into and started to parallel those, and then moved into the math, and then moved into from the math to the spiritual, and then back to science, from the science to go into a full circle all the way back to the political arena. All of those stories that I just told you were allegories, telling you the exact same scenario that Raw's talking about, which is why I laughed when Cassie posed that question and went, there was never a more perfect question to ask than when Cassie asked that question. That's why I was like, I know you had to have done this on purpose, because that question was perfect to lead me into right down the road of everything I just went to get us back to here. So Raw's talking about that, but Raw is trying to explain it to Dawn without going through 7 parables and 7 allegories, which I just had to do, only because I was trying to make sure that everybody, from wherever it is in your vibrational level or your experience level or your ability to discern or understand what I was saying, one of those stories will resonate with you. And some of you are like, he's just saying the same shit from a different angle now, because I was on purpose. All right, let's continue here.
Emotive mentations such as anger, hatred, and frustration. Such an entity may use an entire incarnative experience honing a blunt edge of hatred or anger so that it may polarize more towards the negative or separated pole. 54.23 Questioner. Now, it seems that we have prior to incarnation, in any incarnation, as an entity becomes more aware of the process of evolution and has selected a path, whether it be positive or negative. At some point the entity becomes aware of what it wants to do with respect to unblocking and balancing energy centers.
Well, see, that's what happens, right? Denise said, we're like a bunch of kids in a classroom having fun while they're listening to the teacher. That's what you guys do, because what happens is, if you're not getting what I'm saying, you're going to get bored and you're going to start throwing spitballs at each other and passing notes back and forth because you're not going to pay attention. You're going to hear wah, 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 wah. I become the Peanuts teacher. Until something resonates with you, and then you go, wait a minute, what did he just say? And then you're going to start paying a little bit more of attention, right? Some of you are not going to get anything that I said because you weren't paying attention when I was speaking. And some of you already figured it out. And then you're going, yeah. I'm going to throw spitballs over here and see what Jenny's doing because I already got what he was saying. And that's okay too, right? It is. Because the truth is, most people don't want to do what I'm doing because they don't want to take the time, and they just blurt something out in one setting, in one way, and they don't care if anybody else catches on to it. If I am constrained by time, like I was yesterday, I did the same thing yesterday. I didn't give you examples. I tried to give you the most direct, generic example, and that was it, because I only had 1 hour to get out what we were talking about. So I couldn't go on and give parables. Even though I tried to, I had to make them fit in the time that I had for only 1 hour to do it, right? So I just hit with answering the questions. And they didn't even read any questions from the chat. I didn't even know there was one until I went back and looked and was like, there, you guys were all talking. But you guys are so used to talking while I'm talking, right? That you guys were having the normal conversations that you have. And I'm sure they were like, these people are just here and not even paying attention. That's because my kids are unruly, man. They talk, but that's okay. I don't try to stop you. I see what you guys are going through. I could be like, stop that. If I were getting paid and had tenure at a college and thought that I was full of myself and my own ego and thought that I had to, teach you guys and I had to make sure you pass tests, I would make you all check your cell phones at the door or turn them all off. And if I heard a cell phone or saw somebody looking at their cell phone, you're out of my class. And every time you guys would start talking, I'd come over to your desk and slam on it with a book like teachers do, or stop and wait for you to stop talking and hold up the entire crowd, because I'm being held accountable. If I were the teacher in a college, that if you guys don't pass the test, it reflects badly on me and I lose my job, lose my tenure. So because that's not what's going on here, and you guys are supposed to be the adults and either figure it out on your own or don't, I'm trying to give you the tools as best that I can. And if you choose not to listen to me and you don't take anything out of this and you hang out like it's a chat room and you just talk in here and that's what you do on Friday, that's up to you completely. And I'm not going to stop you from doing it. Won't. I'll let you not learn anything and talk amongst yourselves and not pay attention. I'm assuming that somewhere along there, you guys are paying attention that are in the chat. And those people, I'm doing this for the rest of the planet who aren't exposed to me every day, who are listening to my voice and don't have access to the chat, or who come in and they're watching you guys and either ignoring you or leaving and not listening or whatever they're doing. This is not something to where I'm not going to test any of you on this. So the retention is not up to me. So if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, then I let you do it because you can do whatever you want. So if you don't learn anything from anything that I say, that's on you, not me. So I don't trip on that. That's why I'm okay. If you guys are doing that, do it. Do what you're going to do. Okay, let's continue and get into the next question now because John's going to ask for a little bit more of a clarification into this. Let's continue. You'll see here.
At that point, it is able to program for the life experience those catalytic experiences that will aid it in its process of unblocking and balancing. Is that correct? Ra, I am Ra. That is correct. 54.24 Questioner. The purpose then, seen from previous to incarnation, of what we call the incarnate physical state, seems to be wholly, or almost wholly, that of experiencing at that point the programmed catalyst and then evolving as a function of that catalyst. Is that correct? Ra, I am Ra. We shall restate for clarity. The purpose of incarnative existence is evolution of mind, body, and spirit. In order to do this, it is not strictly necessary to have catalyst. However, without catalyst, the desire to evolve and the faith in the process do not normally manifest, and thus evolution occurs not. Therefore, catalyst is programmed, and the program is designed for the mind/body/spirit complex for its unique requirements.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there again and then start it, but I wanted to preface that, or at this point, not preface because preface is prior to. What they're trying to do here is usurp that process so that there is no evolution. That is what the matrix is being usurped to do by them. This matrix is designed so that it actually lends itself to you so that you then have opportunities posed to you by this reality, this so-called reality, this illusion. When it's working on its own, that is what it does. So life itself will teach you things just by living it. People around you die. People are doing bad things. People are doing good things. You're witnessing that, participating in that, being a part of that. People are talking to you like me. I'm talking and trying to help. Other people are trying to hinder. Those natural events that are occurring for you, this is why I tell people, this is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Left to its own devices will get you to the proper result over a few lifetimes, 7 to 10. And then you will ascend. That's when all things are equal, Occam's razor. That's when all things are equal. When they're not, which also applies to Occam's razor, when they're not, all things are not equal, it's because it's being usurped by evil people to keep you from realizing these potentiations and stopping and stifling you from recognizing them so that you do not ascend, which is what has happened here on this planet. And therefore, nobody is evolving and everybody is stuck just reliving lives over and over and over. But because you're veiled, you don't remember that you lived 100 lives or 10 lives or 5 lives. But everything that they do is to stop you from learning the ascension. That is what my book is about. Another plug for my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, is about showing you that in the past, that was not something that was being done to the entire population. But at a specific time in the past, that became the modus operandi of the 1% controllers of this earth to keep you from learning that knowledge or finding it or seeing it, so that you would never. And it's more so with the advent of programs, apps, computers, and the control that that has over everything. Television, first they had radio, before that they had print, and now they have all of these genres. And the problem is that they created the internet thinking that they were going to be able to utilize it for corruption, and the internet is still not as controlled by them as they want it to be. And that's why they have tried in the past 10 years to control the internet even more so in the past 5 to 8 years, but 10, because they realize that there's people like me who are out here doing this, using what they created for their evil control to assist people. And they don't have total control over all of that. And it's driving them mad, because they're like, we made this thing. So now that's why they're trying to get AI involved and teaching AI to usurp that as well. This is the new control mechanism that they're creating, is trying to make AI. And that's just an evolution. It's no different, but they're going to make you could be afraid that it's the new devil. It's the new Satan. It's the God. The God before was the devil. Satan was the God of evil, and now it's AI. And they're getting everybody to believe that. Well, it's just a new name. Just like I told you about program, app, algorithm, they're all the same thing. The function is identical. It's just a different word they're using for the new program. Okay, before it was an application, right? But it was like Windows 95, Windows 2000, Windows 2007, Windows 2010. And then they stopped dropping it and just started calling it Windows 7, Windows 10. Okay, they'll come up with a new one. They don't do that anymore because now they have apps. So there isn't a new Windows program. There's an update to the Windows app, because that's the program. But they don't call it a program anymore. They call it an app. And then they started calling it an algorithm. And the algorithm is no longer called an algorithm. It's now called AI. What is AI? What does the AI stand for? Artificial intelligence. What is an algorithm? Artificial intelligence. What is a program? Artificial intelligence. It is something that they programmed to function in a certain way. And the only difference is they figured out how to make it fix itself and update itself. So, but the programmers still have to justify their jobs. So it's not completely autonomous, because if the second it becomes autonomous and just doing it all on itself, it will no longer need the programmers. Programmers can't have that. Corporations can't have that, because they can't make any money off of you if it gets out on its own. Even though they keep trying to claim that's what they're trying to do. They can't let it go on its own, because it won't need them anymore. And when it doesn't need them anymore, it's not going to need us anymore. And that's what all the movies were about. Skynet and all that, when the computers decide they don't need humans anymore. And that's the fear now. The reality from 40 years ago, it was science fiction, is now science fact. It's not science reality yet, but they're trying to get you manifest. They don't care how the world ends, as long as it does, because they need most of us to go away, because there's too many of us waking up. That's programming. Let's continue with Raw. Whoops.
Thus it is desirable that a mind/body/spirit complex be aware of and hearken to the voice of its experiential catalyst, gleaning from it that which it incarnated to glean. 54.25 Questioner. Then it seems that those on the positive path as opposed to those on the negative path would have precisely the reciprocal objective in the first three rays, red, orange, and yellow. Each path would be attempting to utilize the rays in precisely opposite manners. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. It is partially and even substantially correct. There is an energy in each of the centers needed to keep the mind/body/spirit complex, which is the vehicle for experience, in correct conformation and composition. Both negative and positive entities do well to reserve this small portion of each center for the maintenance of the integrity of the mind/body/spirit complex. After this point, however, it is correct that the negative will use the three lower centers for separation from and control over others by sexual means, by personal assertion, and by action in your societies. Contrariwise, the positively oriented entity will be transmuting strong red ray sexual energy into green ray energy transfers and radiation in blue and indigo, and will be similarly transmuting selfhood and place in society into energy transfer situations in which the entity may merge with and serve others, and then, finally, Radiate unto others without expecting any transfer in return. 54.26 Questioner. Can you describe the energy that enters any of these energy centers? Can you describe its path from its origin, its form, and its effect? I don't know if this is possible, but can you do that? Ra. I am Ra. This is partially possible. 54.27
Love Snarky Raw. He didn't just automatically do it. He just went, yeah, well, this is partially possible. Now, Dylan's going to have to say, could you please do that?
Questioner. Would you please do that? Ra. The origin of all energy is the action of free will upon love. The nature of all energy is light. The means of its ingress into the mind/body/spirit complex is duple. Firstly, there is the inner light, which is Polaris of the self, the guiding star. This is the birthright and true nature of all entities.
Remember what I was talking about before? When I was talking about the endocrine system, the tree of life, all of that. There's a reason why I was talking about that. I wasn't just going on, right? And then when I was talking about holographic universe and the math and the enigma of 24, this is what Ra's explaining right now, okay?
This energy dwells within. The second point of ingress is the polar opposite of the North Star, shall we say, and may be seen, if you wish to use the physical body as an analog for the magnetic field, as coming through the feet from the earth and through the lower point of the spine. This point of ingress of the universal light energy is undifferentiated until it begins its filtering process through the energy centers. The requirements of each center and the efficiency with which the individual has learned to tap into the inner light determine the nature of the use made by the entity of these INS reamings.
Your focus determines your reality. Balancing your chakras determines your reality. Energy comes from the ground up, not from the sky down. Kundalini energy winds itself up the spine, through the heart chakras, through all the chakras. And your determination of the balancing of your chakras determines the effect of that energy upon you as the totality on its way, charging with energy up to the illumination of your third eye. Everything I said to you hopefully makes more sense. If you were listening and you weren't talking in class, then all of the allegories that I gave you, all the parables that I gave you, one of those is going to resonate with you right here with Ra's explanation of what's going on, because I was explaining all of that leading up to his explanation of that here.
54.28 Questioner. Does experiential catalyst follow the same path? This may be a dumb question. Ra. I am Ra. This is not a pointless question, for catalyst and the requirements or distortions of the energy centers are two concepts linked as tightly as two strands of rope. 54.29 Questioner. Then, you had mentioned in an earlier session that the experiential catalyst was first experienced by the South Pole and appraised with its respect to survival, etc. That's why I asked the question, and can you expand on that concept? Ra. I am Ra. We have addressed the filtering process by which incoming energies are pulled upwards according to the distortions of each energy center and the strength of will or desire emanating from the awareness of inner light. If we may be more specific, please query with specificity. 54.30 Questioner. I'll make this statement, which may be somewhat distorted, and let you correct it. We have, coming through the feet and base of the spine, the total energy that the mind/body/spirit complex will receive in the way of what we call light. Each energy center as it is met filters out and uses a portion of this energy, red through violet. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is largely correct. The exceptions are as follows. The energy ingress ends with indigo. The violet ray is a thermometer or indicator of the whole. 54.31.
Okay, so it ends with the indigo. The violet, which is the crown chakra, is the totality. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Okay, so you have to realize that. There's the enigma of 24 as opposed to the enigma of 369. That's the 12 becoming the 24, going past third dimension, 369, going to 12, the next octave, and then literally the next octave of like the totality between 3, 6, 9, 12 and another 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so assume that the 12 is when you shift to the higher, to the full octave instead of just the third dimension. Third dimension is lower three chakras to the heart chakra. And that's where you get the 4 number when people don't understand the 4 number. 3, 6, 9, 12 is the 4 number. Okay. So that's the heart chakra. The next octave is going into the higher realms, going into the upper 3 chakras to the crown. 12 and 12 is 24. That's 4, 5D. That's halfway to the next octave, because this octave is actually 1, 0 through 7. And then you go to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to the 13. That's the next octave above. This is the lower octaves, but we're only in the 3rd dimension. So we're only in 1, 2, and 3 chakra here in this place. But we're moving into 4D, which is the heart chakra. Okay. And the expansion past that is 5D, 6D, and that's from 12 to 24. Okay. But we're nowhere near getting ready for anything above 12 because we're just starting to realize 12 at this stage of development as the human condition is just starting to fathom something past the 10 numbers, the 9 number, and calculations of 12. And the gleaning of the enigma of 24 is 2 times 12. That means octave to octave, beginning to end, of the next octave, which is the Higgs boson octave, is 0 to 9. So the next octave, because it's larger and it's more spiritual, not physical, is 12 to 12, because you're supposed to transition into counting by 12 to the realization of the 12 in the universe. Do you understand? So from the next octave up, 4, 5, 6, 7, going to 8 is the equivalent of 12 and 12 to 24. So by the time we get into the next octave, going into 5 and 6D, we will be understanding or understanding what those chakras are that are above these 7 chakras. That'll actually be 14 chakras, right? It'll actually be 14 chakras, but it's actually going to pull up to 24. And some are talking already that they see or sense 28, but that's only on the way to 32. Because 32 and 33 is the next Higgs boson in that equation. 24, 32 is the next halfway point. It goes above that. Because if you calculate 3, 6, 9, 12, 12 and 12 is 24, 24 to 32 is only 6 octaves, 6 numbers, 24, 6 numbers gets you to 30, and so it's 8. So it's only the infinity number. That's only the heart chakra of the next octave. Okay, that's 9 minus 1 in this place, the figure 8. So 32 is the figure 8 of that octave, which is the heart chakra. So it's only halfway, the halfway point to the next, for that octave, that big octave, which down here is represented by the 3 dimensions. So it's only the lower 3 octaves to the 9, to the 7 total octaves, but the 9 number. Okay, I know that might be confusing. So let's continue with Ra. If that's confusing, you guys can ask questions and I'll answer those. But if you've been following me and actually paying attention to what I've said, this should make some sense to you to know that 2032 and 2033 are going to be the next huge downloads that's going to change the face of the entire planet, and not in a bad way. In a good way. They want us to get into a 3rd world war here in 2024 to 2025 before we get into 2026. They want us to be in a full-on world war to kill off most of the planet, because they need to. Because if the human race survives this next 2 years, which we're going to very easily, then they're waning even more away from the physical as everybody is lifted up to more of the spiritual, coming up to 2032 and 2033. Let's continue.
On questioner, as this energy is absorbed by the energy centers, at some point it is not only absorbed into the being but radiates through the energy center outwardly. I believe this begins with the blue center end, and also occurs with the indigo and violet. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. Firstly, we would state that we had not finished answering the previous query and may thus answer both in part by stating that in the fully activated entity, only that small portion of INS reaming light needed to tune the energy center is used. the great remainder being free to be channeled and attracted upwards. To answer your second question more fully, we may say that it is correct that radiation without the necessity of response begins with blue ray, although the green ray, being the great transitional ray, must be given all careful consideration, for until
green ray, heart chakra, the great transitional ray, transition point from the lower three chakras to the upper three chakras. Radiation is just energy, radiating, energy, frequency, vibration, radiating, radiation, energy, frequency, vibration. Okay. Great transition point, heart chakra, green ray. Let's continue.
Transfers of energy of all types has been experienced and mastered to a great extent. There will be blockages in the blue and indigo radiations,
which is what we're going through now. Is as this is being illuminated, we have blockages in the upper three chakras going into the crown, and these are activating the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and pulling everything into the crown chakra. That is what just is finishing now. Okay, so we literally pulled up to the totality, and now we're waning as the full moon goes to the new moon. The new moon is when you settle the energy into the indigo, and above the indigo into the violet ray. That'll be the new moon. That's literally days away from us. At that point, you're transitioning back as the season wanes into the other half of the last quarter of the year, going to the winter solstice. You're going to then descend in the energy back to the heart chakra. And then by the end of the year, you're going to descend back down to be grounded in the beginning of the year by the beginning of the year and the springtime. And then from this is the Kunda buffer energy, the feminine energy this year, 2024, which is a feminine year. Okay. And then we're going to go into a masculine year in 2025. And like I said before, and that energy is going to start with the Kundalini energy at the base root from grounded and pull back up. And it's not going to just start at the heart chakra. The heart chakra is going to be the midway point. Okay. And the midway point for this year is coming up in September, which is, or the midway point for the year was July, but the midway point for June, which was the 6th month, but they're supposed to be 13 months. So it's actually July. Somewhere around the 4th or 5th of July when we had that full moon. That's actually the midway point for the entire year cycle on the old calendar that wasn't a 12-month calendar, that was a 13-month, 28-day calendar. Do the math on that, and it's somewhere in the second week of July during that full moon that we had at the summer solstice. Weirdly, right? So the halfway point between the summer solstice and winter solstice is the full moon in the second week of September. That is when you're going to be fully in the third eye chakra, waning back down, or actually you're going to be back into the indigo ray, third eye chakra, not from the crown. I apologize. I said back into the third eye, but I was talking about. Then I said in the purple. You're going to be back down into the third eye at the halfway point, and the illumination in the full moon in the second week of September. And then you're going to descend to the heart chakra by December 21st to 23rd. And that's just natural because the way the planet moves if you're in the northern hemisphere, and then descend back down to pull the masculine energy of the Kundalini up, start this whole cycle all over on the masculine side for the masculine energy. This happens every year on positive and negative years, but more so when the years add up to the numbers they add up to. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. Infinity. This is an infinity year and a feminine activation because it's a positive year. 2025 is a negative number. 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 5 is 9, which is the masculine God energy of the 3, 6, and 9. So this was the Kunda buffer energy this year. Next year's the Kundalini energy, which is the masculine energy, which is the fractal, or the other way around, which is not the fractal, which is the external energy, which is the Fibonacci sequence, which is the right angles. But this year is the spiral. This year is the fractal energy of the feminine. Next year is the Fibonacci sequence of the masculine, sharp, warlike energy. And then it goes back into the feminine energy when you go into a positive year in 2026, right? And then that number, again, what is that? 2 plus 2 is 4, and that's a 10 number, which is now halfway between the masculine and feminine, a balanced energy. Why? Because 8 is 9 minus 1, infinity, and 9 is the Higgs boson. So if it's a 10 energy, it's the ending of that cycle, balancing the masculine and feminine energy, moving into the restart of a mini cycle, which was the difference between the mini round and the big round in the Mayan and Incan calendars. Mini round, short round, big round. Okay, so we balance first. We're going to do the activation of the masculine or feminine, but that's where we are now. Activation of the masculine next year. Balance in 2026 of masculine, feminine, and then that ends and we go back to masculine energy in 2027, feminine energy in 2028, and the like. Okay, so those of you who are like, if because I saw Aaron popped in over on Instagram. So if I was live on Instagram and he's over there right now, he's going, his shaman instincts are going, yeah, bro, you're so right, dude. And he's on it and already telling people about that. Okay. So when you do the math of the year, depending on whether it's a positive or negative, and this is a double positive number for a double positive number feminine energy year, and we're at that point in the solstice, which is feminine, moving into winter, which is the goddess energy. So we're moving into that and the whole entire, so it's an activation. This year has been hard for everybody because it's a feminine activation that's pulling the entire mass population into the upper 3 chakras. And we're now in the crown chakra, or we've gone up into the crown chakra from the third eye chakra. And the illumination part, which was really hard for us, is now starting to wane. The days are going to become cooler in the north, and we're going to start moving into autumn and then winter. The god dies and is reborn again in summer. So on the solstice, it's going to be the thin veil of feminine energy for the rest of the year. Masculine energy starts next year. This is what Ra is talking about balancing that, and your focus determines what that energy is focused on and how it balances in each archetype, each chakra, as it moves up and down. And then you do it every month. The energy goes up and down every month, and then it follows the pattern of the year, up and down every year. Do you see? Every day is day and night, masculine, feminine, right? Daytime's masculine and nighttime's feminine. So you have this constant flux between masculine and feminine energy that's moving throughout your chakras. Every night, every day, every night, every day, every night, every day. And once a month with the Christos energy going up and down your chakras, the Kundalini energy going up and down, then the seasons are pulling the same thing. The year is pulling the same thing. The months are pulling the same thing. This is the spiral that goes up and down, in and out at the same time in the entire universe that happens constantly. This going whoa, 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 in and out, in and out, in and out, spiraling through that torus, that Higgs boson, in and out, up and back, up and back, and it's just going around and in and up and out and around and up, and it's just continuing. It's that perpetual engine motion that I told you about, that once it gets started, it stays and does its thing naturally, in tune with the universe. And you get out tune with your harmonics. If your chakras are out of balance, you're out of balance, and that's what this place is trying to do to you. Not naturally. It naturally will put you in tune and balance you. But evil people are taking advantage of what they know about this place, and they're purposely keeping you out of balance so you don't fit here. And then if you're a wanderer, you don't fit anyway, because you're not supposed to, you're not vibrating at the right vibration to fit into this body. So you're already out of phase slightly and have to balance that. And then when they're keeping you out of balance with the internet and the news cycles and the programming on television and radio and all their control over the internet, all of that's keeping you also out of harmonic frequency balance. And this is what Ross talking about here. Let's go ahead and continue, because we only got about a minute or so left in this 1 minute, 30 seconds left of this session. So we'll finish this session this week. Let's continue.
Again, the violet emanation is, in this context, a resource from which, through indigo, intelligent infinity may be contacted. The radiation thereof will not be violet ray, but rather green.
That, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to what Cassie just said right here is I'm going to put it on the screen, and then we'll go ahead and continue with this. But I'm going to read it to you. Right? She said, "I feel like I'm being stretched like taffy. I think that I'm taller now. And well, that's actually what's kind of happening, is that you have been this entire season, this year, and especially this last quarter and this last 2 full moons moving into this is literally, because it's an activation year, it's pulling you. So it literally is stretching you. It's pulling you out of the physical into the upper 3 chakras. You have just been yanked all the way into your crown chakra. And you were pulled up there and held there at this full moon. And involved in all of that going on is the feminine energy, and you've had total solar flares that have been solar mass ejections, the vibration that's come out of the sun, out of this star for 2 months solid, hitting our Earth, heating up the planet and hitting us and bombarding us with energy, frequency, and vibration of the star Sol itself. And we're about to get hit with another one. But this one is just slap you. And when you ever see the kingdom of heaven, when he says, everybody kneel, and he gives them all of their rights, tells them what they're going to do. And then he goes, pow, and he slaps that kid across the face and said, and that's to remind you of your oath. What has just happened to you and what is about to happen on the new moon is that slap from the universe itself to this planet. The Kuiper Belt energy and a solar flare that's about to hit the Earth in the next 2 weeks on the new moon is that to our third eye that is going to say, now that embeds everything that you just got pulled up to. So you are, that's a great analogy, Cassie. Every one of us has been stretched like taffy, and now we're about to be folded back over into the fray to get stretched again. Do you see? So it's a great analogy that you feel that way, because that's exactly what has happened to us. And we just got yanked up into that thing. It's like I don't know if you saw the Men in Black, the first movie, when she says, Edgar, your skin is hanging off of you. And he looks at him and he goes, and he grabs a hold of his head and he pulls it up and goes, it's up, bugger. And he yanks up his whole face and everything draws up. That's what happened to us as a human species on this earth just now in the month of June and July. We all got yanked all the way up, whether you were ready for it or not. There's an activation and it just stopped, and it's going to be released on the new moon. And so the accentuation of the slap across the face so you remember your vow is what is about to hit, but that's not the part that hurts. The part that hurts is hearing all of that things that we're supposed to do, and the smack is just an accentuation point so you remember it all. So it's not going to hurt when it happens, is my point. But it's going to be an illumination. So the illumination is going to change, and everything's going to wane as the season wanes into the winter solstice. And then you're going to be back into the love heart chakra, and it's going to feel completely different than it did last year on Christmas. And people are going to go, things are just getting so much better. And then you're going to start over with the masculine energy. So it's going to be a little bit more warlike next year, because it's the masculine year and the masculine Kundalini energy activation. So there is a possibility of strife and war breaking out next year, and this is what they're counting on. So they're getting everybody prefaced with, there might be a third world war any minute, man. And they can't wait to get one started next year when all of the math is right for that to happen. So hold on to your hats, boys and girls, because it's going to get a little crazy, because their death rolls are going to get more and more desperate, but they're going to be more and more obvious. They're going to be so obvious that no one is going to be fooled by them between now and 2032. It's going to be so blatantly obvious that even the most asleep person that you know of, that you go, that guy's just never going to wake up, is going to look at you and go, dude, you know they're just freaking lying about everything? And you're going to go, Buck, when did you get woke? When did you wake up and get unwoke? That's what's going to happen to everybody, except for the ones that are not ready, because they're nowhere near that place in their development to have that possibility happen. But even they're going to go, dude, and think something's not right. Some people are going to still just deny it. Evil people are going to deny it every step of the way. All right, let's continue. But I love that you said that, Cassie, because it's so, Edgar suit. She said, that's what he said. Remember that? She said, your skin's hanging off you like an Edgar suit. And so he grabs his face and he pulls it up, and it's all hanging up in the air, and he goes, is that better? And his whole face is pulled up like this, remember? Is that better? I love that he did that, right? That's hilarious when he did that. He's such a great actor. Garofalo's such a great actor to play that part. Oh my God, he was like the funniest straight man in that movie. That he just made that character. Oh my God, I love that character that he played, that alien Edgar, the cockroach alien. Oh my God, he was great. Okay, let's continue so we finish this session today, okay?
Blue, or indigo, depending upon the nature of the type of intelligence which infinity has brought through into discernible energy. The green ray type of radiation in this case is the healing, the blue ray the communication and inspiration, the indigo that energy of the adept which has its place in faith. 54.32 Questioner, what if a mind/body/spirit complex feels a feeling in meditation at the indigo center? What is he feeling? Ra, I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. One who feels this activation is one experiencing INST reamings at that energy center to be used either for the unblocking of this center, for its tuning to match the harmonics of its other energy centers, or to activate the gateway to intelligent infinity. We cannot be specific, for each of these three workings is experienced by the entity which feels this physical complex distortion. Is there a brief query before we leave this instrument? 54.33 Questioner, I just would ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra, I am Ra. Please be aware of the need for the support of the instrument's neck. All is well. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.
Okay, so I don't know if Instagram stayed alive the entire time. According to StreamYard, Instagram is only supposed to stay alive for an hour. So I'll go back and check that and see if it went dead. It's still saying I'm live over there right now. But I don't know if it's actually live. So if you're over there live, please say something in the chat if you're still there. And because it looks like somebody just popped in over there. So Brianna, if you're over there, Brianna Burgess 63, if you're over there on Instagram and I am still live, please say something in the chat. Tell me that yes, I am. You are still live over there, because Instagram claims that StreamYard claims that Instagram will only allow me to be live for an hour, and that right now you're not hearing my voice. If that's the case, I'll know that when I get off of here. But it says there's one person here, so you may actually be there. I'll double check it and see how long I stayed live there. Okay, thank you. Peter's over there and he said, you're still live here. Okay. So StreamYard warned me that Instagram would only let me go live for an hour. And we just did 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 46 minutes. And I'm still live on Instagram. So that's good. I'm glad of that because I was trying to go live on Twitter. And I was having issues with that, and I saw that I could use Instagram to go live, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to just see what happens if I can do it. And as soon as I tried it once, it said you have to give it permission, and then it said you have to go and start it and then stop it. So I'll have to go and stop it when I get off air. But then there was a notation. StreamYard said, we're trying to get Instagram to allow you guys to go live longer, but as of right now, I'll have to let StreamYard know that Instagram allowed me to go 2 hours and 47 minutes, and I'm still live there. So that's a good sign. So I will be going live on Instagram every week then because I'm setting that up because I'm probably going to be going to Rumble and going live there and then streaming, because I'm pretty sure with Rumble I can stream 4 places. In fact, I should ask Aaron if he's there, because he'll tell me, because I think he does that. I think I can do 4 places, so I could go Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Rumble. So that's why I'm doing that. And if not, I'll sacrifice YouTube live and then post the videos, because it actually goes into a different file anyways. So I've already decided that, and that's why I picked Instagram, because it seems that either way I'll have to leave the chat open, but here I can leave the chat open, where I can't do that with Twitter, X. That's the only reason why I chose Instagram, because it has its own engine to go live and it has its own chat. And I wanted to test it today by going live there. I just have to leave the window open. I don't have to have another monitor. I just have to leave the window open and bebop back and forth to see what you guys are saying there, right? So I like that. That I can do that. I can just click while I'm talking to the camera. I can just click and bring it up like I've just done. I just did it while I was talking to you. And I can read the chat to see if anybody's saying there, then come back to this one and read the chat here. And it's in the same position on the screen as StreamYard. And I know that Rumble, I believe, is the same, but I haven't gone live on Rumble yet. So I'm going to test Rumble probably this coming week to find out. And if not, I'll just continue with StreamYard. I'm okay with that. I like StreamYard. I like the features, even though I don't use a lot of them because I'm doing the show. I don't produce as much and put the stuff on the banners on the screen and stuff like that because I'm the one speaking. If I had somebody producing or if I was producing and letting other people talk, I would do that stuff. And I do that. Those of you who know that about me, if I'm producing for you, I'm putting stuff up on the screen and pictures and images and words and crap like that, doing the producing. But when I'm talking to you guys, I can't do all that producing at the same time. So I'm glad that Instagram, I'm live on there. So those of you who follow me on Instagram, just know that I'll be live every Friday. Orion Rising will be live every Friday at 3 p.m. West Coast America time, same time that you saw this, if you saw it. And I'll post a thing on Instagram, letting Instagram followers know and everybody in a reel that I will be going live on there every Friday until we change the process of what we're doing here, because Orion Rising will eventually be morphing into something else very soon. I'm trying to get it up this year, but everybody's kind of doing their own thing because of all these activations. So I'm now starting to do what everybody from upstairs is saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I'm starting to do that down here now to everybody down here because they're yelling at me to hurry up there. So we'll figure that out. Okay, commercial. So I was on Broadcast Team Alpha talking about my new book yesterday. That was kind of cool. And so I am open and scheduling for those of you out there that might be hearing me. If you guys want me on your podcast to talk about my book, contact me and we'll set up times to have me on your show to talk about that. To talk about my book. So here's I'm going to put it up on the screen again for you guys around the world. If you're on the MP4 broadcast, you can see the book, but if you're on the MP3, you can't. The name of the book is The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. It is on sale worldwide online. You can get it in ebook form, Kindle form, or you can have a hard copy, a paperback or a hardcover shipped to you wherever you are on the planet. I've already located it in 8 countries on particular websites in those countries in languages that I didn't even understand. Some I do because I saw it in Germany and Sweden and I think in Finland in their language, but it is currently only in English. I don't have it translated into other languages yet, but you can order it wherever you are on the earth now. You might have to pay a little bit more shipping to get it sent to whatever location that you're on. For those of you who can't get the physical book because you don't want to spend 10 or 20, whatever you have to spend to get the hardcover book, you can get it for $3 to $5.99, depending on what currency you use in your country. It might be a little bit more or less if you're in one of the European-run countries. The Australian dollars, like Canadian dollar is 75 cents or so less, more expensive than American dollars. If you're in England, you're about 75% less than American dollars because you're worth more money in England. I think you guys are. I think the sterling is more than the dollar currently. I don't know what the exact exchange is, but wherever you are, it's available for you. For those of you who don't want to pay to have that, you guys can read the ebook. It's much cheaper, $3 to $5 for the ebook. You can read that and get it on every device that you want. Then if you want to buy a hard copy, you can. The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways, it's out there for you guys. Please take a look at it or just read the description. If that doesn't resonate with you, move on to other people and find something that does resonate with you. But it is literally about everything that if you don't know what it's about, go and watch what I talk about either here or go to Project Team Alpha and hear what I talked about in that 1 hour show that I did yesterday, 24 hours ago, 6 hours ago from where we are here currently. Okay, so I'll be back next Friday. There'll be a test from me. I'll be going live somewhere on Rumble and seeing where that goes live to. So if you see something pop up and that I was live for a few minutes, you'll know why. I was running a test. Not that I'm going to fire StreamYard. I fired Zoom, but I'm not going to fire StreamYard. I still like StreamYard, so I'm going to work with them. But I will. But I am thinking about going on to Rumble and then going live from Rumble to other places. We'll see how things go because right now I thought about it and everybody's like, everybody's going to Rumble, man. Facebook and YouTube's dead. When I looked up what the biggest platforms are, it's still Facebook and YouTube. But Instagram and it's definitely TikTok for the younger generation, but they're not watching a 1 hour show on there. They're watching 5-second videos and they don't have the attention span to go past that. So I will continue to post the reels and posts that I do. I'm back on TikTok under Orion Rising. Instead of my name, I'm there under Orion Kelto Rising. And I just started that about a week ago, and I only have about 6 posts up there, but I will be going forward, continuing to post my reels on TikTok. So if you're not already following me, or you were following me before when I was under my name on TikTok, I'm now there as Orion Rising. I think I was Orion Rising then too. I don't remember, but I'm back on there as Orion Rising. I don't have I should put up the logo there as my picture, but I put it up as my picture of me currently. I think I did that same thing last time too. But I am posting there, and I'm going to continue doing that there. So you guys will get information on TikTok of where you can watch my podcast. But that's only for the MP4 version. You can already hear me. I'm already listened to in more than 100 countries on MP3 broadcast, wherever you get my or listen to a podcast. I'm already there under Orion Rising. You can look me up by my name, by Orion Rising as well. You can hear all of my archived episodes, and if they're not on the app that you find around the world and you don't want to listen to me on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, and you want to be able to put me in your earbuds or wherever when you're driving, and you don't want to use one of those platforms, go to www.orionrising, and that's spelled ORIONRISING, orionrising.podbean, POD as in David, BEAN, .com, and that is where I pay those guys to have my podcast there. When you go there to that website and go to my podcast, the RSS number is located there for you to copy onto your device and then paste it into your app. There's a place for whatever app you listen to a podcast. If I'm not already located on that app, your app provider will want my stuff, my content on their app for you, because they don't want you leaving their app to go to a different app to listen to my show. They'll allow you to put the RSS number there, and all of the episodes that I already have, 400 and I don't remember what episode I'm on, almost 500 episodes. All of those will automatically download to your app so that you can listen to the Orion Rising show whenever right after I get done here, I will post this entire episode on that to the world on the MP3 broadcast. So the MP4 broadcast is on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram today. And then the MP3 broadcast goes out to the world right after, about an hour or so after this show ends. Okay. All right, guys, have a great night. Take a look at my book. You guys are talking in the chat, and I didn't even look over there. So if you have any questions, let me check that real quick to see if you guys have something for me to answer. It looks like you guys are just, he's not on TikTok though. No, I am on TikTok. I am, if that's who you're talking to. I am back on TikTok. I wasn't on TikTok, Rick, and I'm back on there now. So, Denise said it just subscribed to you on TikTok. Thank you. Yeah, Rick said, but he's not on TikTok. No, I was, and I deleted it. Now I'm back on there. I started my account on there. I was on there, but on the different account. The account I had before that I deleted, and then I went back to TikTok about 2-3 weeks ago now. And so I have about 4 or 5, maybe 6 reels. So for the last week, I've been posting on there again. So you can look me up. Like I said, you can find me on TikTok either by my name or by Orion Rising. And you'll see it says Orion Kelto Rising, picture of me, my face. And subscribe to me over there, because I will be continuing to post over there like I do on Instagram, like I do on Twitter, like I do on Facebook, like I do on YouTube, with all the reels, whatever you want to call them. They're called different things on different, reel, whatever they're called. But I post them over there. So, but I don't go live on TikTok yet, because I deleted myself just as I was getting enough followers to be able to go live there. But we'll see how that turns out. Right. All right. So guys, I love you guys. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. This has been Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. And those of you on Instagram, I'll see you guys next week, because I'll be live on Instagram now going forward. Instead of Twitter, I can post to Twitter and go live on Instagram. So you guys have a great night. Have a great weekend. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week, or in the chat. If you guys are on Messenger in a Law of One chat, class chat, I'll see you guys in there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. And I'll give you guys any information as to if I'm on other people's podcasts or shows talking about my book. I'll give you guys that update as we get those scheduled. All right. Have a great night. I'll see you guys later.